The sun is like a group of melting metal, surging on the noisy urban streets. Yuhang rubbed his sour eyes and walked out of the company building, slapped his backpack on his shoulders, filling his head with reports of working overtime until late at night. He is an ordinary office worker. He is 28 years old. He beats the ground and knocks on the keyboard every day. His life is like a cup of white water, so dull that it makes people breathless. The phone vibrated for a moment. It was a message from Yuchia. Brother, have a drink tonight? Don't hold it alone. Yuhang smiled and replied, one other day, go home and take a shower first. He accelerated his pace and turned into a remote alley. This was his shortcut. Although the lights were dim, he could avoid peak period swelling. The alley is filled with a damp musty smell, mixed with the smoke from the roasted baked area. Yuhang walked down, thinking about how to ask the boss for a leave tomorrow, but suddenly felt his feet sinking. The ground seemed to have come alive, slightly moved, and he stumbled and almost fell down. When I looked up, a hidden gap broke in the corner of the wall in front, like a wound that was torn open by an earthquake. Curiosity was at work. He leaned closer and pushed open the stone-like crack. It was not a dirty garbage pile, but a secret basement. The walls were filled with ancient runes, and there was a strange fragrance in the air, like dew in the deep forest. What's this ghost place? Yuhang murmured, his heartbeat accelerated. He stepped in carefully, his feet whispering in the air. On the stone platform in the center, there were several seemingly ordinary objects, a silver ring, a pair of soft gloves, an inconspicuous seed bag, and a sense of space, and so on. A sound suddenly flashed in his brain, not heard by his ears, but was directly heard in his mind. Awaken ones, accept the inheritance. Without reacting, Aerospace's hands automatically reached towards those things. The ring slid into his fingers, and a warm current spread throughout his body in an instant. The gloves wrapped around his palms, bringing a slight feeling. The bag of seeds fell into his hands in a scattered manner. The most unusual thing is that space. He felt an invisible warehouse in his brain that could swallow anything. Mind power? What is this? His thoughts were insane, but his body instinctively remembered these powers. The stone chamber suddenly shook, and the crack began to close. He climbed out of the ground and leaned against the wall with gasps. I'll dream, Yuao patted his brain and tried to concentrate. Suddenly, a piece of stone on the road floated up and circled in front of him. His eyes widened, and a trembling tremble broke out in his heart. This is not an illusion. Mind power, space storage, elemental summoning, healing touch, plant manipulation, these things are like gifts of heaven, instantly turning him from a mortal into a hero. No, don't think so far, he has to go home tightly. Just walked out of the alley, the noise of the street came over. Neon lights are flashing, carriages are flying, and the crowds are surging like a tide. As the Yuhang was about to cross the road, he heard a scream, help! My bag! A young girl was beaten by two thieves, one of whom was holding her shoulder bag, and the other was dancing with a knife, pushing passers-by fiercely. Roll open! Whoever dares to mess with things will stab him to death, the thief roared, and the girl's eyes swayed, stomping, that's my money. Please give it to me. Aerospace instinctively stopped walking. In the past, he always chose to watch the police. Too slow, heroes save beauty? That's what happened in the movie. But now, the ring in his hand was slightly swelling, and he felt a force rushing inside his body. The girl's crying sounded like a pinch of her heart. He gritted his teeth and stepped forward. Hey, let her go. The thief turned his head and smiled. Boy, are you looking for death? The sword flashed and headed straight to Yuhang's chest. Passers-by screamed and retreated, and someone shouted, run. Don't be strong. Yuhang's heart beat like a drum, but the sound in his brain sounded again, Minjala's power, activate. He had no time to hesitate and concentrate, and his air seemed to be pulled by an invisible hand. The thief's knife suddenly turned away from the track and flew to the side. The girl's bag was also removed from the thief's hand and floated to the Aerospace foot. What? The thief widened his eyes, and the other person came up and wanted to get his bag back. Yuhang took a deep breath and imagined an invisible rope in his brain, the explosion of thought power. The bodies of the two thieves seemed to be hit by huge waves, and their feet left the ground, swung 3 meters away, and hit the road lights heavily. They slammed and wanted to get up, but as soon as the aerospace moved, transparent bundles condensed in the air, slimming their feet tightly, like 2 live fishes leaping around the internet. The girl stared blankly at Yuhang, wiping her tears. How did you do that? Thank you. Passers-by around her burst into exclamations, some applauded, and some took out their mobile phones to record. So handsome. Is this Superman? Look, he flew away without touching them. Yuhang smiled awkwardly, but his heart was in turmoil. In the past, he was always unable to change anything. Now, this power made him feel the joy of control for the first time. Not for the limelight, but protection. The girl's eyes were full of gratitude, which made his chest feel warm. It's okay, miss, it's your bag. He bent down to pick up the bag, but suddenly remembered the space backpack. After a tentative thought, the bag disappeared in his hand instantly, as if it had been swallowed into an invisible cave. The girl blinked. Huh? Where's the bag? Yuhang smiled, and with another thought, the bag reappeared in the palm of his hand, intact. Here, take it. There's nothing missing inside, right? The girl checked it out and nodded in surprise. It's all there. Oh my God, are you a magician? Passers-by gathered around and someone patted him on the shoulder. Brother, hero. This city needs you like this. Admirations came in like a tide, and Yuhang felt his cheeks get hot, but there was a warmth in his heart. This is not a simple pleasure, but a responsibility. If he can change these small things, he can protect more. The police arrived quickly and dragged the thief away. The girl insisted on inviting Yuhang to drink coffee, but he declined. No, be careful on the road. After watching her leave, Yuhang turned around and left, but did not notice a man in a hat staring at him in the shadows at the corner of the street. That was Chiang, the younger brother of the Zakai group. The walkie-talkie in his hand rang in a low voice. Boss, there's a situation. A kid captured one of our people on the street using supernatural powers. He looks like a newbie, but he's not weak in strength. On the other end of the phone, Sakai's voice was cold. Keep an eye on him. The city is ours, and whoever dares to do bad things will have him disappear. As the night grew darker, Yuhang returned to the small rented apartment. The room is simple, with a bed, an old computer, and family photos on the wall. He slumped on the sofa, playing with the ring in his hand. The scene just now replayed in my mind, the thief's fear, the girl's smile, and the applause of passers-by. In the past, he always complained about the chaos in the city but never took action. Now, this power is like a key, opening the shackles in his heart. I can't be a bystander anymore, he murmured to himself, clenching his fists slightly. Family, friends, this city. I have to protect them. Outside the window, the lights of the city twinkled like stars, and he felt that a bigger storm was coming. Word count, 1287. Yuhang lay on the narrow bed, staring at the water stains on the ceiling. The hustle and bustle of the city outside the window poured in like a tide, mixed with the sound of distant sirens and the smell of oily smoke from night market snacks. He turned over and sat up, stroking the silver ring with his fingers. The applause on the street and the girl's grateful eyes still echoed in his mind. Power, this thing was so real that it sent shivers down his spine. In the past, he always hid in his comfort zone, complaining about the unfairness of the world but never reaching out. Now, this superpower is like a fire, burning him so that he can't sleep. Try it, he whispered to himself, took a deep breath, and focused on the old water glass on the bedside. The cup trembled slightly, as if being pulled by invisible threads, slowly floated up, and spun around in the air. Yuhang's eyes lit up, his heartbeat accelerated, and beads of sweat slid down his forehead. It's done, he whispered excitedly, but he didn't dare to shout loudly for fear of disturbing the neighbors next door. The telekinesis felt like an extended limb, and at first it was as clumsy as a novice driver, always having trouble grasping the strength. The water glass suddenly accelerated and hit the wall, making a crisp cracking sound. Yuhang was startled and quickly swept the fragments of his mind into the trash can. Huh, take your time. He wiped his sweat, and the mysterious voice in his head sounded again, adapt and take control. He stood up and looked around the messy apartment. The floor was littered with old newspapers and leftover takeout boxes, and the smell of stale noodles hung in the air. I tried to move the pile of newspapers with my mind. They flew into the air and circled around the room like a flock of frightened birds. Yuhang smiled, feeling his self-confidence growing. But curiosity got the better of him, and he turned his attention to the ring. Elemental summons, fire? With a thought, a small fireball shot out from the fingertips. Orange flames jumped in the palm of his hand, like a naughty elf, and the warm breath rushed to his face, lighting up the dark room. Wow! Yuhang's eyes widened. The fireball was too lively and rushed towards the pile of newspapers. Instantly, black smoke rose from the edge of the paper, the flames shot up, and a burning smell filled the air, like the smell of a barbecue stall. Oops! His heart tightened, and he instinctively stretched out his gloves and touched the source of the fire. The healing green light flashed, and the flame was suppressed, turning into wisps of green smoke and dissipating. Only a corner of the newspaper was burned. He breathed a sigh of relief and patted his chest. I almost burned down my house, but I controlled it. This accident made him realize that power is not a toy, but a weapon that needs to be sharpened. From panic to timely response, he felt like he was transforming, from a confused rookie to more calm. The phone suddenly rang. It was Yujia's call. Yuhang picked up the answer, and Yujia's voice came from the receiver with his usual teasing voice. In the background was the low music of the bar and the sound of clinking glasses. Hey, Yuhang, what's wrong with you? Just now, the message said you were going home, and you're only answering the phone now? You worked overtime to the point of vomiting blood? Yuhang hesitated, walked to the window, and opened the curtain. The city is brightly lit at night, and tall buildings stand like giant beasts. Brother Jia, I have something to tell you. I'm not joking. He took a deep breath and told everything about rescuing the girl on the street, from discovering the ruins to repelling the thief with his telekinesis, and even the embarrassing incident of the fireball burning the newspaper. The other end of the phone was silent for a few seconds, and then burst into laughter. Ha, you kid is making up a story? Superpowers? Buy me a drink next time we meet, and I'll believe it. But, wait, you said those thieves are from our neighborhood? They sound like Sakai's gang. Yuhang's heart sank. Zakai? Who is it? Yuchia's tone turned serious and his voice was low, as if he was sharing a secret. Zekai Group, you don't know? This city is glamorous on the surface, but gangs are rampant underneath. They not only sell drugs, but also extort small shopkeepers, and have recently been collecting protection money on the streets in the East District. I heard that the boss Sakai has special powers, such as controlling shadows. We have insiders in our company, and last night I heard that they plan to go to Laoli Noodle House to collect money tonight. I am familiar with that place, not far from your home. If you really have that ability. Hey, don't be brave, but if you need information, I will keep an eye on it for you. The information blew into Yuhang's mind like a cold wind. He thought back to the man in the hat on the street corner, feeling vaguely uneasy. Thanks, Brother Jia. I want to go see it. It's not because of the heroic dream, but I just can't stand them bullying others. Yujia sighed, okay, but be careful. It's easy to suffer alone. If you need anything, call me. I have a buddy here at the police station who can delay some time. After hanging up the phone, Yuhang felt an extra weight on his shoulders. Yujia is not a Superman, but his reliable brotherhood made Yuhang realize for the first time that a hero is not a lone wolf, but needs a partner. The night wind howled. Yuhang put on a dark coat and slipped out of the apartment. The streets in the East District are dimly lit, the cries of roadside vendors mix with the roar of motorcycles, and the aroma of fried dough sticks and chili peppers hangs in the air. Following Yujia's information, he sneaked near Laoli's noodle shop. The light bulb flickered at the door of the noodle shop, and the sound of clinking bowls and chopsticks came from inside. Suddenly, 3 strong men broke in, and the leading tattooed man shouted, "Laoli, where's last month's money? Boss Sakai is waiting for the flowers. If you don't pay, the store will be smashed tonight." The shop owner Laoli said in a trembling voice, "Brother, business is bad, we are losing money this month. Please forgive me." Another boy swung an iron rod and smashed a bowl. The fragments flew everywhere, and the sharp cracking sound made passers-by rush to avoid it. Yuhang hid in the alley, hesitating in his heart like a tide. Do I really want to take care of it? What if I fail? But Laoli's begging sounded like a needle. He clenched his fists and quietly activated his telepathy. Strong men were approaching the counter, iron bars held high. With Yuhang's thought, the stick suddenly reversed, as if controlled by a ghost, and hit the shoulder of the stick holder heavily. Ouch! The guy cried out in pain and fell to the ground. The other 2 turned around, pulled out their knives and rushed at them. Who? The lingering guy. In the night, Yuhang stepped out of the shadows, his voice steady but with renewed confidence. Let go of the shopkeeper. This city is not your playground. The strong man smiled ferociously. Boy, you are looking for death. The light of the knife flashed towards him. Yuhang was calm, his mind power was like an invisible net, wrapping the blade. The weapons twisted in the air and backfired on their owners. One knife slashed the arm of a younger brother, and the smell of blood instantly filled the air. The other flew toward the wall and was nailed into the cracks of the bricks. The strong men panicked, and the leader yelled, "Superpowers? The boss has spoken about such people." They wanted to escape, but Yuhang's thoughts were activated again, and the 3 of them were suspended in the air and flew to the garbage pile on the street. They made a muffled sound, like 3 bags of mud falling to the ground. Oldly got up from the counter and stared at him. Little brother, are you a god? Thank you. They come once a month, and I can't stop it. Passers-by around him snooped and said privately, another hero? The street is saved. Yuhang smiled and patted Old Lee's shoulder. The green light of the glove flashed, curing the wound on the owner's hand. A small matter, uncle. Sakai Group? What are they still fucking? Old Lee wiped his sweat. I knocked on the squad, heard that the old nest is in the old warehouse area. Be careful, boy. At this moment, a crisp female voice came from the entrance of the alley. Hey, go quickly. The police are here, I heard the sirens. Yuhang turned around and saw a short-haired girl wearing a denim trousers and a wind shirt, with a look at the policeman. She was Xia Yan, and she happened to be watching everything while passing by, holding her phone in her hand, pretending to be a pill. I will help you delay and run to the back street, there is a shortcut there, she said softly and pushed aerospace. The sirens slammed and got up, heard the sound of the sirens, and fled. At the aerospace point, follow Xiaoyu into the alley. Her pace was light and she ran and said, My name is Xiaoyu, I'll just see you saving people. Those guys are under Zhe Kai's subordinates. You have the ability, but don't be too arrogant. There is a sewer outlet behind you, which can shake off your tail. They stopped panting, and Xiao Lai came over a bottle of water, her eyes curious. Your move, that's so cool. But if you fight alone, you will fall into the head early. Do you need help? I know some logistics, what to cover up. Yuhang was stunned, and his heart was warm. From the lone on the street to the present, someone took the initiative to extend his hand, and he realized that no matter how strong the power was, he needed a team. Thank you, Xiaoyu. My name is Yuhang. Maybe, we can protect this city together. She smiled and said, It's done. But contact your source of information first. I see your phone is on. When Yuhang heard Yujia's phone call, Yujia's voice was urgent. Did you hear that there is a silence in the east? I dragged the police. You're okay? Sakai must have noticed you there. I will keep watching the news. Brother, don't be polite, what do you need to say? After shutting down, Yuhang looked at the night sky, and the lights of the city were as bright as the galaxy. He has changed from a passerby who is hesitant to a confident guardian, but a larger shadow is approaching quietly, and the low words of Sakai are already rumbling in the wind. The night is as thick as ink, and the neon lights of the city reflect spotted light on the streets after the rain. Astronaut opened the door of the apartment. Xiaoyu followed him and threw away the water droplets from his sweater. There was still a faint smell of burnt paper in the room. Not long after Yuji's phone stopped, his voice was still ringing in his ears. "Brother, don't rush to act. I just dug up the news from the inner line. The Zakai group is going to be serious tonight. They are planning to hit the Huaxia Bank in the city center. I heard that there were more than a dozen people and there were car covers. If you go, remember to be low pressure. I'll help you keep an eye on the wind." The space point turned around and looked at Xiaoyu. She leaned against the door frame, her short hair was wet with rain, sticking to the head, and there was a spark of excitement in her eyes. "You really want to go? That kind of robbery is not comparable to a street thief," she said, taking out a baseball cap from her bag and throwing it to him. "Put it on, hide your identity. Whenever something happens, I can pretend to be a passerby and help you distract yourself." "Thank you, huh?" Astronaut took the hat and a warm current surged in his heart. In the past, he always came alone, and even worked overtime. He was willing to carry it alone. Now, with his partner, it feels like he has an extra layer of armor. He took a deep breath and focused his energy, and the invisible space backpack in the sea of his brain was slowly unfolding. The old iron pipes in the apartment, a few bottles of mineral water, and even a handful of rain in the corner of the wall were all sucked in by him with his mind and stored in that empty warehouse. "These can be put on the table," he murmured. "If you need props, take them out directly." Xiaoyan blinked. "Space magic? Cool. But don't rely too much, you still have to rely on your brain." They didn't bother to slip out of the apartment before midnight. The streets in the city center are moist, and the rain turns into a stream flowing on the sidewalk, and the air is mixed with the smell of gasoline and moisture. The Huaxia Bank building stands on the corner of the street, like a giant glass ball, with the metal columns at the entrance flashing coldly under the road lights. Yuhang and Xiao were hiding outside the coffee shop opposite, watching through the foggy glass windows. Suddenly, the engine's growl came from the end of the alley, and the three-wheeled black SUV was approaching like a ghost, and the car light pierced the night. The car door opened and more than 10 strong fish came out. The head was a big lantern with a gun in his hand and a conversation machine between his waist. "Hurry up. The boss said that if you win this ticket tonight, you can expand the Earth. I will get the security in it." He growled, and his classmates quickly surrounded the bank's door. The shrill wail of sirens pierced the night sky, the lights inside the bank flashed, and the shattering sound of the glass door being smashed sounded like firecrackers. The passers-by screamed and scattered, and Xiaolan whispered, "I'll create chaos, you come in through the side door. Remember, don't fight." She put on her sunglasses, blended into the crowd, and pretended to be panicked, shouting, "There are guns. Everyone, run. Where are the police?" Her shouts attracted several passers-by to boo, and the strong men glanced distractedly. She took the opportunity to kick over the trash can on the roadside, spilling hot coffee residue on the floor, tripping 2 younger brothers. Yuhang took advantage of the chaos and went around to a side alley, his heart beating like a drumstick. This is a team, he thought. One person runs around, but 2 people have the rhythm. The interior of the bank was brightly lit, and the lobby floor was littered with bundles of banknotes and fragments of smashed safes. The bald man was directing his men to load money bags, and the air was filled with the pungent smell of gunpowder and ink. "Move quickly. Evacuate within 5 minutes," he shouted. Yuhang pushed open the iron grill of the side door, his telepathy quietly unfolded, and his invisible hand easily twisted the door lock. Stepping into the lobby, he felt the power boiling in his body, like a hot current flowing through his meridians. "Stop. Your game ends here." His voice was steady, but with a newfound majesty. The strong men turned around and pointed their guns at him. The bald man laughed. "Boy, it's you again? Those 2 losers on the street have paid their respects. Boss Sakai said that there is a reward for catching those with supernatural powers alive." Bullets rained down like raindrops, and the aerospace instinct retreated. His mind power built a transparent barrier, and the warheads stagnated in the air, like a frozen swarm, and landed with a clang. He took a deep breath. This was the first large-scale battle. The hesitation in the past receded like a tide, replaced by clear determination. Elemental ring, activate. The silver ring on his finger was hot. With a thought, he took out the pre-stored iron pipe from his space backpack and used it as a guide to point to the faucet in the center of the lobby. Water element summons. The ring shines brightly, and a torrent bursts out from the dragon's head, pouring like a furious river, instantly turning into a huge wave, rushing towards the enemy's formation. The strong men were caught off guard, the water jets whipped like whips, money bags flew away, and guns fell out of their hands. Someone was caught in the current, coughed and hit the wall, with soaked clothes sticking to their bodies, and cursed in a panic, "Damn it! What the hell is this?" The torrent was precisely controlled by Yuhang to avoid affecting innocent security guards and only targeted gangsters. Xiaolan poked her head out of the window and shouted when she saw what happened, "Beautiful! Let me do it now!" She shouted to attract passers-by, "The fire truck is coming! Everyone, stay back!" It distracted the attention of the surrounding people and allowed Yuhang to concentrate on the civil war. But the bald man didn't fall so easily. He wiped the water off his face and said with a sinister look in his eyes, "Little trick." Suddenly, a tall and thin figure jumped out of the SUV. It was the shadow blade sent by Zhe Kai, a guy with the ability to control shadows like blades. His skin was pale, and with a wave of his hands, the surrounding shadows stretched like living creatures, turning into black light and piercing Yuhang. "The boss said that for a newcomer like you, the shadow can kill you." Shadow Blade's voice was hoarse, like a whisper crawling out of hell. The black light whipped like a whip, cutting the air and making a hissing sound. Yuhang's heart tightened. This was the first time he encountered similar supernatural powers. As the shadow approached, he felt a chill crawling up his spine, a double-edged sword of power. Behind the joy was danger. If he lost control, he might hurt innocent people. "Don't panic," his inner monologue was like lightning, "precise control is the key to growth." The power of mind exploded. Invisible webs wrapped around Shadow Blade's hands, disrupting his concentration. The Shadow Blade twisted in the air, like smoke blown away by the wind. The Shadow Blade grunted and staggered back. How is that possible?" "My shadow." Yuhang took advantage of the situation and moved forward. The ring flashed again and summoned the fire element. The iron pipe taken out from the space backpack turned into a fuse, and a ball of fire condensed, expanded into a fire dragon, and rushed towards the SUV parked at the door. Boom! The fire element exploded, the vehicle exploded like fireworks, orange flames engulfed the metal, debris flew everywhere, and a heat wave hit the face, as wild as a summer wildfire. The strong men screamed and ran away. The bald man's arm was burned by the embers, and he shouted in pain, "Retreat! This kid is a monster." Shadow Blade tried to fight back, but the interference of telekinesis made his shadow limp. He gritted his teeth and glared at Yuhang, got into the second car, and fled with the engine roaring. In the bank lobby, the aftermath of fire and water made the air moist and hot, and the puddles on the floor reflected the flickering firelight. Yuhang gasped and put away the ring. The security guard crawled out from under the table and widened his eyes. "You saved us." "Oh my god, that flame is so cool." Xiaoli rushed in from the side and patted his shoulder. "Fuck beautifully. The team is the first to win." She came over a towel and wiped the water droplets on his face. Yuhang smiled, his heart was overturned. The explosion just now was extremely refreshing. At the moment when the fire dragon burst, he felt that he was controlling everything like a god, but if it was offset by an inch, it would be impossible to destroy the bank and harm human life. Strength is not for ejaculation, he thought, be precise, like a surgery. This battle made him transform from an urged bird into a responsible guardian. The police siren sounded from far away, and the media's flashing lights were lit outside. Astronaut lowered his hat and mingled with Xia Yan into the crowd and slipped away. the street broadcaster is broadcasting live, urgent news. The Huaxia Bank in the city center was snatched, and the mysterious hero appears. The eyewitness called on the element of water and fire to help the black, just like the urban guardian in a comic. The police called on the insiders to provide a trace. Passers-by controversy, and someone said excitedly, that hero is out. The city will eventually have a savior. Yuhang hid in the alley and listened, and a joy arose in his heart, not a vain, but a satisfaction of guarding. Hiding his identity, he felt like a light tower in a shadow, illuminating the darkness without seeking fame. But joy is fleeting. Xia Yan's mobile phone vibrated, and she read Yu Jie's message in a low voice, "Be careful, black helps to strengthen the tracking. Shadow Blade has reported your ability. Zhe Kaixing ordered that the underground conflicts will be upgraded. There are movements in the old warehouse area, be prepared." Yuhang clenched his fist and looked at the fire in the direction of the bank. The peace of the city was as thin as ice, and he knew that the real storm had just begun. The rain hit the iron leather roof in the old warehouse area, like countless fine rays piercing into the night, and the air was filled with the musty smell of raw metal and moist soil. Acevan squatted behind the green cabinet, Xiao Wei was tightly facing him, the two of them breathed lightly, staring at the vast warehouse door in front of them. The neon light sign on the door is like bailout processing factory, but everyone knows that this is one of the hiding spots of the Zakai group, which is used to store illegal weapons and sashes. Just now, Yu Jie's phone accelerated everything. His voice was low and he was sent out from his phone. The background was a quick sound of the keyboard knocking. "Yuan, listen." I confirmed it in the inner line that there was their weapon database in the east side of the old warehouse area. The weakness was in the back door. The wind, that guarding the slack, but there is a red outer trap. Zhe Kai's deputy, Black Wolf, sits in the town tonight. He can release dark energy and overcome the extraordinary. Don't be too hard, I've painted a picture for you and found it. Is Xiaolu? Let her take a look, and her brain is in the spirit. Xia Yan approached the phone and quickly swiped over the hand-painted map with the blue light from the mobile phone screen. Her fingers clicked on the screen and said with a brow, "Brother, thank you. This winding port is a good entrance, but the red outer network is too dense. Can aerospace's mind power interfere?" At the point of the plane, I felt a little more warm in my heart. Yu Jie is not a warrior, but his precise information is like a key, and he can always open his way in chaos. You can try it. Oh, you are responsible for covering up, Brother Yi, staring at the police outside, and you are talking strangely. On the phone, Yu Jie smiled lightly. Don't worry, I'll monitor the camera in a nearby coffee shop. You are a team, don't be heroes. Protect yourself, brother. After shutting down, Yuhang looked at Xia Yi, her eyes fixed, and her short hair swayed slightly in the wind. Let's go. The first time the three of them work together, I feel good. She said in a low voice, patting his shoulder, making Yuhang's chest warm. This is not a loner who fights alone, but a tacit understanding of his partner, which makes him realize that the leader is not issuing orders, but guarding everyone. They wandered behind the warehouse, and the night wind blew the fishy smell of the far harbor, blowing the aerospace clams. The winding mouth is hidden in the corners of the wall where the vines are scattered, and the red outer lines are like a shaped spider net, slightly flashing. Yuhang took a deep breath, and his mind quietly expanded, like an invisible touching hand, gently wiping the beams. The red outer line twisted in the air, causing a slight buzz, interrupting temporarily. He said in a low voice, "It's done, go in 3 minutes." Xia Yan clicked his head and climbed the iron ladder first, being as flexible as a cat, pushing the wind cover open. Come on, it's dark inside, be careful of your pace. As Avon followed, he took out several luminous stones in his backpack and entered the pipes, and the soft green light illuminated the way ahead. The inner wall of the pipe is cold and damp, and the sound of water is dripping. When they crawl, their knees hurt, but the interaction makes them tight and relieved. Remember that time in the bank? Xiaoli smiled, your fireball almost drenched me into a soup dumpling. Aerospace replied awkwardly, I will be strategic this time, it's not a problem. They slid out of the vents and fell into the interior of the warehouse. The air was stuffy and filled with the pungent smell of engine oil and gunpowder. The shelves were piled with wooden boxes, vaguely labeled ammunition and superpower inhibitor. Dim yellow light bulbs hung from the ceiling, casting elongated shadows. Yuhang whispered, "Information says the weapons depot is on the east side, let's go there." Xiaolan nodded, and the two of them moved forward against the wall, their steps as light as falling leaves. Suddenly, Yujia's message vibrated the phone, "Be careful. The monitor shows that there's an ambush on the east side, 5 guards, plus a black wolf. Evacuate?" It was too late. The lights in the depths of the warehouse came on, and footsteps came like a flood. 5 strong men sprang out from behind the shelves, holding electric batons and net guns in their hands. The leader grinned, "Welcome, little mouse. The boss said that we will catch all of you superpowered bugs." The ambush was triggered, and the blue light of the electric baton buzzed and rushed towards him. Yuhang's heart tightened, and he instinctively wanted to summon the fire element, but information about Yujia's weaknesses flashed in his mind. The guards were loose, and the shelves on the east side were made of wood, which was flammable and prone to collapse. "Don't fight head-on, strategy," he whispered in his heart, switching from pure fighting impulse to strategic thinking. He reached into his space backpack and grabbed a handful of plant seeds, the source of greenery obtained from the ruins, like granular hope. With a thought, the seeds sprinkled to the ground, and sprouted instantly after landing. The vines sprang up like living snakes, and the green leaves rustled, quickly forming a defensive net. The vines wrapped around the shelves, making a crisp sound of tearing wood. The electric batons of the strong men were entangled, and the nets shot by the net guns bounced back, trapping the 2 guards themselves, like 2 worms in a green cocoon. "What the hell?" "Plant monster," a guard yelled, and the vines tightened as he struggled. Amidst the squealing sound, his pants were torn, revealing a horrified face. Xiaolan's eyes lit up and she praised in a low voice, "Clever. This creative move blocked the escape route." She took advantage of the chaos to pick up the suppressor bottle on the ground and smashed it at the feet of another guard. The bottle shattered and chemical smoke filled the air, choking the guy and causing him to cough repeatedly. Yuhang's vine network expanded, and the greenery spread like a tide, trapping the 3 enemies. Their screams and curses were muffled by the leaves, leaving only muffled hums. A refreshing feeling came to his heart, not from blind destruction, but from precise control. The plants not only defended, but also laid out the layout, making the battlefield his home field. Growing up, he thought, from recklessness to calculation, this is leadership. But not long after he was happy, a cold energy surged from the depths of the warehouse, swallowing the light like ink. An interesting little trick. A deep voice sounded, and the black wolf walked out of the shadows, his tall figure like a ghost, his eyes shining red. He is Sakai's deputy. He has pale skin and his hands are wrapped around the black mist. The dark energy stretches like tentacles, swallowing the surrounding vines and causing the green leaves to wither instantly. Boss Sakai's order, capture that telepathy boy alive. Your plants? In my darkness, they are fertilizer. The black mist rushed in like a tide, and the cold touch crawled onto Yuhang's skin, like countless insects gnawing at him. The telepathy was actually suppressed, and the vine network began to disintegrate. Xiaolan screamed, "Yuhang, retreat!" She pulled him back, but the black mist had blocked the retreat, and a dark energy whip whipped out, hitting Yuhang's chest. He fell to the ground with a groan, his vision blurred, and he felt his strength was draining away. Damn, so strong. In the moment of crisis, Xiaolan did not panic. She glanced around, a map flashing through her mind, weakness. The telephone poles on the top of the warehouse, Yujia mentioned, were aging lines. "Yuhang, hold on," she shouted, picking up the inhibitor fragment from the ground, aiming at the telephone pole and throwing it hard. The fragments cut through the air, hit the pole, sparks flew out, the electric current went out of control, and the blue and white arcs shot down and hit the black fog. The dark energy was torn apart by the electric light, making a sizzling sound. The black wolf roared in pain and retreated. "Woman! You are looking for death. The arc spread and ignited the wooden boxes on the shelves. The flames sprang up and the smoke filled the air, allowing the black fog to temporarily disperse. Xiaolan rushed to Yuhang's side, helped him up, and held his arm tightly with her palms. Get up. There is no shame in the team, I will protect you. Her eyes were full of trust. At that moment, Yuhang felt warm inside, turning from an isolated hero to a leader who relies on his partners. Lan, thank you. He gasped, strength returning. The black wolf roared, and the dark energy condensed into a ball and smashed it at them. Astronaut gritted his teeth and stood firm, the elemental ring was burning. Flower element, counterattack. With a thought, the ring light burst out, and the wind blade condensed like an invisible knife in the air. The night wind poured into the broken window of the warehouse was magnified and turned into a wind-like rotation. The wind blade cuts the black fog and makes a sharp tear sound, like a knife striking across the silk. The black wolf's energy ball was shattered and the fragments fell like black rain. A blood mark on his arm was drawn, and he stumbled back. Impossible, to defeat the darkness? Aerospace did not stop, and the wind blade accurately swept over the remaining guard, swept them to the corner of the wall, and hit the sound of a sensation. Xiaoyu took advantage of the opportunity to open the shelf door, revealing the weapon box inside. Information. These are their medicines, destroying it. Yuhang's mind power swept, and the box flew up and hit the black wolf's foot. The explosion of fire illuminated the warehouse and swayed the hot waves. Black Wolf stared at them, his eyes flashing with viciousness. Boss Sakai won't let you go. This is just the beginning. He flashed his figure, diamonding the shadow in the back door, and fled. The fire broke out in the warehouse, and the police officers screamed. Yujia called in time. I heard the explosion. Are you okay? The police arrived in 5 minutes, and I will answer. Yuhang held Xiaolai, and the two of them rushed out of the wind vent, and the night wind blew away the smoke from their bodies. We won, the first team wins. Xiaoyi gasped and smiled, but the black wolf ran away. He will report it. Astronaut point, his heart was heavy. From the street-headed movement to the current strategy, he grew up, but the responsibility of protecting his partners was heavier. It won't let him succeed. Brother Jay, let's go together. They slipped into the night, and the sirens were approaching from a distance, and the fire from the warehouse reflected halfway across the sky. The shadow of Sakai is quietly expanding, and the revelation of storm is about to roll over the city. Number of words, 1248. The rain in the city was still falling, and the dense rain pierced the night like a silver bullet, and the fire in the old warehouse area reddished half the sky far away. Astronaut and Xiaolu crawled out of the wind vent, their bodies were covered with dust and smoke, and they were panting heavily and leaning against the container. Yujia's car light shook over the alley, and the low-key black car slid in front of them. As soon as the car opened, he stretched out, with a mixed smile on his face with a calm and relaxed smile. Get on the car. Are you okay? The explosion sounds like the end of the world. He said, stretching out his hand, pulling Xia to get on the car, and then turning to Aerospace. Brother, the Black Wolf ran away, but we destroyed their weapon library. This vote is worth it. The warmth in the car was fully opened, and the smell of coffee and smoke made the three of them relax a little. Xia Yan rubbed his arms and said in a low voice, I think your map, Brother Jia. If it weren't for the wire rod, we would have fallen long ago. Yu Jia glanced at Yuhang from behind, and his words were filled with hymns, and he couldn't hide his concern. Yaong, your style element is explosive, but don't fuck you next time. Team is the king. Yuhang looked at the flashing street lights outside the window, and a warm feeling surged in his heart. From the lone wolf on the street to now having brothers and sisters and shoulders, it feels like it has a layer of foundation, making him no longer the ordinary person who has no power to change. Thank you, Yu. I'm already sad without any love or cover-up. He patted Yu Jia on the shoulder, realizing for the first time that a hero is not a show of one person, but a guardian for everyone. The car drove into the market, and the wipers were moving rhythmically. Yu Jia suddenly felt a brow and picked up his phone. Wait, the inner line just sent an urgent message. Zhe Kai's helpless help, and tonight, he sent several citizens, Xiao Shangfeng and office workers, at the Southern District's abandonment factory, and blackmailed Rong Jin. He said that the target was the boss of the Lao Wang fruit farm. He owed them the protection fee and was arrested with his family. The police were not calm yet, so we should be quick. Xiaoyi's eyes lit up. Crack? This is a pick. Yuhang, are you going to save someone? Yuhang clenched his fists and flashed the begging eyes of Laoli Noodle Museum in his brain. I'll go. But this time I'll just pop in, you'll get it outside. Brother Jay, give me the route, yeah, keep it off. Jay said, okay, but be careful. Zhe Kai was watching this, and I heard that he sent an assassin. The desertification factory in the southern area is hidden in the edge of the industrial park, surrounded by beams of walls and mountainous wastelands. The rainwater flows through the iron skin, causing a tingling resonance. The air is filled with the smell of oil and rot, and the sound of dog barking is constantly changing. Astronaut put on a hood and flipped in through the gap surrounding the wall. His steps were as light as a cat, and his mind had quietly expanded, exploring the way like an invisible touch. He acts alone, not to show off his strength, but to be low-key. The team is too eye-catching and easily exposed. In his heart, he silently said, this time I'm not just about fighting with pleasure, but about saving people. Protecting them is the key. 2 strong men guarded the gate of the factory. The cigarette butts under their umbrellas flashed red. They chatted in a low voice. The boss said that if you get the ransom, you can upgrade. Those citizens can't even cry. Yuhang hid behind the scrap metal pile and concentrated. The power of thought entangled their minds like threads, not a rough control, but a gentle hint. Their eyelids suddenly felt heavy and they murmured, I'm so sleepy, let's change shifts. The 2 swayed away, and Yuhang took the opportunity to slip through the door. The interior was dimly lit, with ropes and tools used for kidnapping scattered on the shelves, and the air was hot and stifled with the smell of fearful sweat. He followed the low sobs to the iron door of the basement. There were 2 more guards outside the door, holding electric batons in their hands. Who? A guard turned around alertly. Yuhang didn't hesitate and exploded with telekinesis. Invisible force pressed down like a giant hand, and the 2 guards froze. The electric prods fell to the ground with a crisp clang. Their eyes rolled white, as if they were haunted by a nightmare, and they fell to the ground softly. Yuhang pushed open the iron door, and inside was a damp storage room. The walls were covered with iron chains, and 5 or 6 citizens were tied to chairs with cloth strips stuffed in their mouths. One of the middle-aged men, Lao Wang, had blood stains on his chest. His face was as pale as paper. The wound was from a knife, and blood dripped down his clothes, making a sticky sound. His wife was sobbing beside him, her eyes red and swollen. Help, help! Lao Wang squeezed out his voice weakly, his vision blurred. Yuhang's heart tightened. In the past, when he saw such a scene, he would just call the police and leave. Now, the smell of blood is like a needle pricking his heart. He rushed forward, tore open the cloth, and whispered, Don't be afraid, I'm here to save you. Lao Wang gasped, Boy, they want money, I don't, my chest hurts, I can't hold it anymore. Yuhang gritted his teeth, facing such a sense of powerlessness for the first time. Mind power can control enemies, elements can destroy objects, but save people? The mysterious voice in his head sounded, Healing gloves, activate. He stretched out his gloves and covered Lao Wang's wound with his palm. Green light surged out like a spring breeze, warm energy penetrated into the skin, the wound healed at a speed visible to the naked eye, the blood stains faded, and the muscles reconnected, making a subtle sizzling sound, like flowers blooming. Lao Wang's eyes widened, and the pain subsided instantly. He took a deep breath, and his chest heaved. Is this? I'm fine? Boy, you are a bodhisattva descending to earth. The surrounding citizens were stunned, and his wife burst into tears. Old Wang. You are alive. Thank you, hero. At that moment, Yuhang felt like a surge of water in his heart. It's not the joy of applause, nor the admiration of strength, but the sincerity in the grateful eyes, the warmth of humanity. He knelt down and whispered, "I'm not a hero, I just don't want to see you suffer. Get up, let's go." Lao Wang held his hand with a firm look in his eyes. "Boy, from now on, if you say east, I will never go west. With you in this city, we have a backer." This kind of loyalty, not fear, but a willing bond, allowed Yuhang to transform from a worshipped Superman into a guardian who cares for all living beings. He helped everyone untie the ropes and thought to himself, power is meaningful when it is used in the right place. But the joy is short-lived. There were loud footsteps outside the basement, and the guards shouted, "The hostages are missing. Block the exit." Yuhang pushed the citizens away, and swept them away with his telekinesis, making them disappear into the shadows. "Run to the back door," he growled, turning to face the oncoming enemies. More than a dozen gangsters poured in, guns flashing in their hands, and the leader yelled, "Boss Sakai is personally watching, the whole scene here is live broadcast. Catch them alive." Yuhang's heart sank. Sakai is watching personally? Outside, Xiaolan's voice came from the earphones. "Yuhang, I'm outside the factory, distracting the pursuers. Pretend to be in a car accident and block the road ahead. You lead people to retreat from the side." Her tone was urgent, with the sharp sound of tire friction in the background. Fighting breaks out. The gangsters open fire, bullets rain down, and aerospace telekinesis built a network. The warheads hovered in the air and landed with a clang. With a thought, the elemental ring shone, thunder and lightning, summon. He pointed at the kidnapping convoy outside. 3 trucks were starting their engines, preparing to carry away the ransom. Dark clouds rolled in the sky, thunder roared, and blue and white arcs of lightning rushed down like silver snakes, hitting the roof of the car. Boom! The first car exploded into a fireball, its tires melting with a loud crackling sound and metal shards flying like fireworks. The gangsters screamed and retreated. "Monster! The god of thunder is coming!" The second car tried to escape, but lightning pursued it. Electricity rushed into the engine, the body shook violently, black smoke billowed out, and it collapsed on the spot. The third vehicle was accurately hit in the cab. The driver cried out in pain and fell to the ground. The convoy was instantly paralyzed. The refreshing feeling of destruction ran through Yuhang's body like an electric current, but this time, he did not indulge in it, but turned around to protect the citizens. "Quickly go!" Citizens came out with a fish. Lao Wang held his wife and said in a low voice, "Boy, come with us." Yuhang shook his head and said, "I'm going to stop. You are the first to be safe." At this moment, a cold smile came out from the shadow. "It's a good performance," but Boss Sakai watched it. An amazing assassin shot out. His body was like a ghost, and his hands turned into an ice blade, which was so cold that it was so cold. He is Zai Kai's Faithfrost Blade, who specializes in killing the powerful. The boss is smiling behind the monitor. "You have destroyed the car, he will kill you." The ice blade whipped like a whip, the air condensed into frost, the ground was frozen, and the slippery touch made the space slip. In the crisis, Xiao Wu's cover worked. She was creating a mess outside, and the sound of a slut that pretended to be a cart led the blacks to split the troops. "There are policemen over there. Go and block." The pursuers scattered and gave Yuhang a breath. The frost blade slammed on the chest, and the ice blade slashed straight into the chest. The trust of the team flashed through the aerospace brain, and the mind power was counterattacked, and the invisible force slammed the ice blade, making a crisp collision sound. But the cold air rushed in, causing his arms to numb. "You can't fight hard," he murmured in his heart, took out the plant seeds from his backpack in the space, and rushed to the ground. The seeds fall to the ground and take root, and the green mind rushes wildly. The vines rise like giant pythons, forming a passage that leads to the side door. The leaves rustled and slapped the attack of the frost blade. The frost melted on the green leaves and dripped water droplets. The escape route is done. Yuhang pulled the citizens into the vine tunnel, and the roar of frost blade was stopped behind the green wall. "Don't die. Boss Sakai, I can't catch up." They pulled out of the factory side, The rain was blowing, and Xia's car was waiting there, and the engine was growling. Yujia looked out from the driver's seat and said, "Go on the car. Citizens, hold the back seat." Lao Wang and his family rushed in and patted Yuhang's shoulder gratefully. "Boy, you saved our whole family. If you have something to do in the future, look for Lao Wang." The car quickly left, and the flames of the factory behind him shook the sky, and the thunder and electricity were still buzzing in the air. Xia Yan turned around and came to the hot towel. "Order alone, you can do it. But call me together next time." Yuhang smiled, feeling that the scope of his mind was expanding. Just as he controlled the vines, he felt that the invisible force extended to 50 meters away, like his arms were growing. "I've been upgraded. Thank you for covering up." Yujia smiled afterwards. "The team is celebrating. Go to my house for a drink? We'll win tonight." In the apartment, the hot fire burned with white smoke and scented with the fragrance of peppers and sausage. The three of them joined Lao Wang's family and sat around the table, laughing constantly. Lao Wang bowed. "Respect the heroes. No, respect the brothers of Yuhang. You not only help your life, but also give us hope." Yuhang's face was red, and his heart was as calm as water. From the urge on the street to the current concern, he grew up. The power is not for showing off, but for those soundless crying. Xiali touched his arm and said in a low voice, "You have changed, you are more stable." Yujia pointed, "Yes, but after the incident, you have to be alert." Inside, Zai Kai was angry. He planned to mess up the city level, spreading an alien virus, causing the whole city. The storm is coming. As the spacecraft looked out the window, the city's lights were like stars, and the hidden shadows were quietly expanding. He clenched his fists and said, "We are ready to protect them together." Terms, 1263. The heat in the apartment was still there, and the aroma of chili oil spread in the air, smearing the moisture of the soil after the rain. Lao Wang's family had left, leaving behind empty plates and gratifying eyes. After closing the door, the three of them sat on the sofa. Yuhang rubbed the son's hole. Xia Yan poured a cup of hot tea and gave it to him. Yujia stared at the phone, with her eyebrows tightly locked. "The fun is over, it's really here." Yuji suddenly opened his mouth, his voice as low as the night wind. The inner line just intercepted Zeikai's plan. They launched a street violence tonight, and started from the city center, spreading that eliminate virus, a kind of people who can wake up temporarily potential poison, but the side effect is out of control and turmoil. The goal is to scoundrel, create panic, force the city government to make steps, and let them slam the underground alien market. The thugs have hundreds of numbers, with weapons and several expert subordinates. The venue is the core, and there are teams on the side wings blocking the road. Yuhang's heart sank, and the bloodstains of Lao Wang and the cries of the citizens flashed in his mind. In the past, when he heard this kind of news, he would just close the windows and draw the curtains. Now, the city is like an extension of him, and he has to protect it when it hurts. "They're crazy. How many innocent people will suffer?" he muttered, clenching his fists and making the ring slightly hot. Xiaolan came closer to the map, her short hair swept across her face, and her eyes were sharp. "Let's split up. Yuhang, you focus on attacking the core of the square and suppressing the source of the riot. I'll go to the flanks, cut off their supply lines, and use drones to monitor and adjust tactics. Brother Jia, you provide logistics support and rescue the scene when necessary. We can't let the virus spread." Yujia. Nodding, he patted Yuhang on the shoulder. "Brother, this time is a big one. Have your abilities been upgraded? After the last fine, I feel that the range of your telekinesis has expanded." Yuhang took a deep breath and tried to concentrate. The air in the room was slightly distorted, and the teacup floated, spinning steadily in the air, smoother than before. Upgraded. Elemental fusion. I have tried in a small area, fire and wind can mix. But this time, I have to do something big. The eyes of the three people met, and their tacit understanding was as tight as an iron chain. Xiaolan smiled. "As long as the team stays together, we will definitely win. Let's go." The night is dark, the city center square is brightly lit, The crowd is surging like a tide, the sound of street performers' guitars is mixed with the hawking of snacks, and the sweet smell of barbecue and popcorn is floating in the air. But peace is an illusion. Suddenly, fireworks exploded at the edge of the square, screams spread, and gangsters rushed out like wolves. The strong man in the lead waved iron rods, smashed street lamps, and scattered glass shards like rain. Boss Sakai said, "This city belongs to us tonight. Whoever blocks the road will die." They sprinkled green powder, a supernatural virus, and the mist filled the air. Several passers-by had red eyes after inhaling it, and they pounced on others uncontrollably. Their fists were smashed like hammers, and the smell of blood instantly filled the air. There were hundreds of thugs, the sound of gunshots and sticks intertwined, vehicles were overturned, flames shot up, and the square turned into a battlefield. Police sirens sounded in the distance, but there were not enough manpower. Passers-by screamed and ran away. "Monsters! They're crazy!" Yuhang rushed out from the side alley, his hood pulled down, his heart beating like a war drum. The core of the riot was the fountain in the center of the square. There was a high platform there. The gang leader was distributing virus bottles and shouting, "Disperse! Let the city kneel down." Yuhang took a deep breath and replayed the runes of the ruins in his mind. Those ancient powers are not a curse, but a legacy of protection. "I am no longer afraid," he whispered in his heart, "this power is for peace." The power of thought exploded, and the invisible net swept across like a huge wave. The bodies of a dozen thugs were suspended in the air, flung to the edge of the fountain, and hit the water, causing splashes like explosions. He stepped onto the high platform, and his voice resounded throughout the square, "Stop! This is not a game, Zakai's conspiracy ends here." The leader turned around, smiled grimly, and drew his gun. "Boy, it's you again?" The boss said, "The bounty for capture alive will be doubled." The bullets poured out, the aerospace telekinesis built up a shield, and the warheads stopped like raindrops, clinking to the ground. Xiaolan's voice came from the earphones, urgent but steady. "Yuhang, flank crisis. They blocked the East Street, and the virus convoy is coming. I used the drone to scan and adjust the route, go around from the north side to avoid the snipers." Her drone buzzed past, and the picture came into Yuhang's mind. The flanking gangster was pushing a truck, which was full of green mist bottles. Yuhang nodded, and with a sweep of his mind, the virus bottle on the high platform flew up and hit the thug's feet, but it did not explode. He controlled it precisely to avoid hurting innocent people. "Lan, thank you. Your eyes allow me to see the overall situation clearly." Xiaolan replied, "Team, focus on your tornado. The climax is coming." The leader summoned his supernatural men, and a fireball shot out from the crowd and hit Yuhang. During the crisis, Yuhang felt the ring pulsating like a heartbeat. Upgrade unlocked by elemental fusion. As soon as he thought, the fire element condensed first, and orange flames burst out from his palm, like a furious lion. The wind element followed, and the air rotated and turned into an invisible vortex. Fire and wind intertwined. The flames were picked up by the wind and expanded into a fire tornado. The red-gold tornado roared like a giant beast, heat waves hit the face, and the air was filled with the smell of burning and the roar of the wind. The tornado swept through the square, accurately avoiding the citizens and swallowing only the mob formation. Thugs were drawn and screaming, iron bars melted, guns twisted, bottles of green mist evaporated in the heat and turned into harmless smoke. "Monster! What is this?" The leader stared and backed away, but the tornado chased him like a living creature, throwing him away to the fountain and hitting him hard, causing water to splash everywhere. The gorgeous scene made Yuhang's blood boil, and the fear of the past was like a shackle breaking. He was no longer the rookie testing his strength, but the one in control. The inner monologue was like lightning. "What the ruins gave me was not destruction, but balance. I defended this city." The tornado continued to spin, sweeping away hundreds of thugs. The chaos in the square receded like a tide. Passers-by poked their heads out of hiding places and burst into cheers. "Hero! He saved us!" Suddenly, a cold energy struck from a distance, like an invisible black hand, suppressing the tornado. Zai Kai! Yujia shouted urgently in the earphone, the boss is personally interfering and remotely controlling the shadow from the old warehouse. Be careful. The black shadow poured into the square like a tide, entangled in a tornado, and tried to extinguish the flames. Yuhang groaned, feeling his strength being stretched, and his heart tightened. He is too far away, how can we fight back? Xiaolan immediately said, drone positioning. The source of the shadow is on the top of the north tower of the square, sniper your telekinesis wave. Her adjustment was like a timely rain, Yuhang locked the position, and the telepathy rebounded. The invisible force is like a boomerang, passing through the shadows and hitting the source. There was a muffled sound from the top of the north tower, and Zakai's supernatural men fell to the ground screaming in pain. The black shadow disintegrated, and the tornado reignited, clearing away the remaining enemies. This is the first time that the opponent's force has been harmed. Yuhang feels like the victory is like a passion, we can win. The crisis on the flank was resolved. Xiaolan's drone dropped smoke bombs, blocking the supply convoy. The truck overturned and the virus spread to the ground but was blown away by the wind. The flanks are cleared, Yuhang, finish, she said excitedly. The mob dispersed, and the police finally arrived and cordoned off the square. Yuhang put away the tornado, gasped and jumped from the high platform. Passers-by gathered around him, and someone shook his hand, thank you. You are our patron saint. He smiled and reflected in his heart, the ability comes from the ruins, but the determination to protect is the result of his own transformation. Peace doesn't fall from the sky. I have to use it to protect every corner. At this moment, Yujia's car squeezed through the crowd and honked the horn, Yuhang, get in. There's a tail behind you, and Zai Kai's assassins are coming. Yuhang got into the car, and Xiaolan was already waiting in the front seat. She turned around and handed over a water bottle, well done. Your fusion is simply art. Yujia stepped on the accelerator, and the car sped out of the square, with the assassin's motorcycle roaring and approaching behind him. Yujia glanced at the rearview mirror and said firmly, I'm here to save the situation. The internal line has given me the route, go around the alley to get rid of them. He suddenly turned, the car tilted, rainwater splashed, and the assassin hit the roadblock and rolled to the ground. Another car caught up with it, gunfire rang out, and Yujia roared, hold on tight. He used an unexpected technique, flicking its tail and colliding, causing the motorcycle to roll over and sparks fly. Yuhang's eyes widened, Brother Jia, when did you learn to race? Yujia smiled, for you guys, I will learn everything. Loyalty, needless to say. This rescue made the team bond tighter, and the warmth of brotherhood surged in Yuhang's heart, from a simple hero to a leader with backing. As the car drove into the night, the cheers in the square faded away. Xiaolan opened her laptop and scanned the news, the hot search exploded. The mysterious hero stopped the violence and the city praised it. But Zai Kai will not give up. His virus is just an appetizer. The decisive battle is coming, and its base is in the port area. Yuhang looked out the window, the lights of the city were flying like battle flags, and the black shadows were hidden among them. We are ready. Guard, starting tonight. The three of them were silent, the car was full of determination, and the peak of the storm was quietly approaching. Word count, 1246. The car sped through the night, the wipers swept across the windshield rhythmically, and the city lights flashed across the window like shooting stars. Yuhang leaned on the back seat, his fists shaking slightly, and the screams of the out-of-control citizens in the square echoed in his mind. Zakai's virus is not a simple poison, but a cancer on the city, swallowing up the sanity of innocent people and turning the bustling streets into hell. He gritted his teeth and whispered, that bastard, he wants to destroy this city, everyone. His heart was on fire. In the past, he complained about the indifference of the city, but he was never truly angry. Now, this anger surged like telepathy, strengthening his motive not for the reputation of a hero, but for the threatened family members, friends, and every ordinary person crowded in the subway. I can't let him succeed, he thought. This city is our home. Xiaolan opened her laptop in the front seat, and the blue light on the screen illuminated her face. She tapped her fingers quickly, the old nest in the port area. According to the news and insider information, Sakai's base is hidden in the abandoned dock of the old dock. The security is tight, with infrared cameras, monitors, and possibly superpower guards. We have to sneak in for reconnaissance to find out their trump cards. Yujia clenched the steering wheel and said in a steady tone, I just asked for the internal map from the inside. The dock. It is divided into 3 floors, the upper warehouse, the middle weapons room, and the lower floor. I heard it is a laboratory. The entrance is in the east wall, the weak point is the drainage ditch, but patrols occur every 15 minutes. Aerospace, your space backpack can carry equipment, stuff some smoke grenades and tools in it, let's keep a low profile. Yuhang nodded and took out a few pre-stored luminous stones and ropes from his backpack. He felt that the invisible warehouse was like an extended limb, swallowing items easily. It's done. Brother Jia, the map is here. Lan, you crack the system, and the 3 of us join forces. The 3 people's eyes met, and the tacit understanding was as natural as breathing. This was not a blind impulse, but a rhythm after running in, which allowed Yuhang to transform from a lonely man to a pillar of the team. 2 o'clock in the morning, the air in the port area was pungent, and the sound of the waves slapping the codes mixed with the low birds in the far-flung cargo. The scrapped ship stood in the mist, like a sleeping giant beast, covered with seaweed on the wall of the iron lens. After the car parked in the hidden container, the Ursus said in a low voice, I guard the outside and monitor the patrol. The map shows that the drainage ferry goes straight to the middle layer and avoids the main door. Xiaoyan put on the night lens and sent Aerospace a pair of headphones. I got into their security network and closed the red outside within 5 minutes. Aerospace, you can explore the way first. At the aerospace point, the mind-feeling Pris opened the drainage ferry, and the iron ferry makes a low squeak, and the damp musty smell comes over the nose, like the sea water of Chenyan. He took out the rope from his backpack in the space, walked around, and slid down first. Come on, it's black inside, but my glowing stone can shine. Xiaoyan followed, his feet lightly, and Yujia said in a low voice, the patrol has come, 2 on the east side, and I'll walk over. The drainage cushion is narrow and smooth, the water flows in cold and rolls in with its boots, the aerospace leader crawls, and the map appears in the brain. The middle-level weapon room is 50 meters away. Xiaoyan suddenly stopped and the screen of the mobile phone flashed, the security system is connected. The password is, Shakai's birthday, idiot. The red outside is closed, and the monitor passes for 5 minutes. She was mocking, as if she was mocking Zakai's arrogantness. Yuhang smiled and said in a low voice, yeah, your brain is more ruthless than mine. They crawled out of the mouth and fell into the middle corridor. The air was filled with the smell of oil and metal. The lights on the wall buzzed and cast a long shadow. The sound of avoiding the patrol movement approached like a heartbeat. The 3 of them hid behind the box. A team guarded and walked past, and the guns at their waists collided and made a crisp sound. The boss said, after the virus fails, strengthen the experiment. Those drugs enhance the angiography and who uses it to kill it? A guardian low voice, sounds like a Sandy voice. Yuhang's heart was tight and his anger came like a tide. Those medicines were not to save the slaughter, but to lock them. Zakai used it to control his subordinates and threaten the city. That's dead guy, he roared in his heart. He used people as tools to destroy countless families. I have to stop all of this. They continued to move forward. The map led to a gate with the experience zone marked on it. Xiaoyan approached and scanned the lock. Fingerprint password, I'll try. Her fingers danced on the tablet, locking the green lights and opening with a click. There is a secret experiment room, with the light and lights cool and dazzling, green liquids arranged on the test tube rack, and the bitter smell of chemical drugs in the air, like the hospital's disinfectant water mixed with poisonous gas. On the central work platform, documents were scattered. Extrainer enhancement V3, improve mental strength by 30%, side effects, mental collapse. Zakai plan, spread across the city and recruit slave soldiers. Xiaoyan widened his eyes and said in a low voice, this is their trump card. Enhancement drugs can make ordinary people differentiate, but the price is loyal to Zakai. The port area is just a middle ground, and the real battle base is located in the underground fortress, located deep in the old ship. Yuhang's fist clenched tightly, and his chest was burned. He wants to enslave the entire city. Those out-of-control citizens are just trying to test. His heart was as innocent as thunder. In the past, he had no power to face injustice. Now, this anger turned into a determination, pushing him to transform from a guardian into a revenge sword. For those crying passers-by, I've won this ghost place. Yu Jie's earphone sounded, "Be careful." The patrol found that it was abnormal, and the guard came, 5, and the gun. The outside of the door was rushing, and the guard kicked open the iron door, pointing directly at the gun. Who? Invader. The battle exploded. Astronaut was not panicked. He took out the plant seeds from his backpack in the space and rushed to the ground. The seeds fall to the ground and take root, the greenness flows like a tide, the vines grow and form a maze, and the leaves rustle and seal the door in an instant. The guards open the fire, and the trunk is embedded in the green wall, causing a slight repercussion, but the vines are like living creatures, surround their ankles and pull people into the depths of the maze. What the hell? Let me go! A guard roared, and the vines secreted juice when they pierced, and the psychedelic sweet fragrance in the air made them distorted their vision, and the illusion appeared in front of them, the phantom of the collapse of the city and the sound of people crying. They screamed and killed each other, their guns were irritating, hitting the wall, and the smell of blood mixed with the green freshness. The phantom trap, Aerospace said in a low voice, controlling the vines to accurately guide them, turning from the destruction of force to the wisdom structure. This growth was like a clear wind blowing his face, making him feel more mature. It's no longer reckless, this is a strategy. Xiaolan's eyes lit up, handsome. But there is a trap in the information, there is a tracker hidden in the file. She quickly scanned the workbench, pulled out a hidden chip, and threw it into her backpack. It's resolved. They can't catch us. The three of them rushed out of the laboratory. Their space power swept away the remaining vines, and green leaves fell like rain. The shouts of the guards behind him came like a flood, and more reinforcements arrived from the corridor, their footsteps thundering, and their guns firing like firecrackers. Block the exit. Boss Sakai is going to live. Yujia shouted from outside, evacuate quickly. The drainage ditch road is blocked. I drove the car and opened the side door. The coolness is coming. More than a dozen reinforcements blocked the corridor, and the leading supernatural guard summoned a wall of earth. The earth came down like a huge wave, and the dust hit his nostrils. Yuhang took a deep breath, and the elemental ring became hot. Water element, drown. With a thought, he took out a few bottles of water stored in the space backpack. As a guide, the water flow burst out and turned into a torrent like a raging wave. The corridor was narrow, and water jets shot out like giant pythons, washing away at the earthen walls and splashing mud. The cold and clammy touch made the guards slip. The torrent accurately avoided the three men and swallowed only the enemy formation. The earthen wall of the supernatural guard collapsed. He fell to the ground under the pressure of the water, coughing, "The water is too strong." The water element spread, submerging the firearms, the circuit short-circuited, the lights flickered out, and the corridor became a water prison. The guards struggled like drowned rats, and their screams were muffled by the water bubbles. Yuhang felt refreshed like an electric current rushing through his body. This was not blind destruction, but control. The water flow was like an extension of him, driving the wave of growth. They rushed out of the side door, and the night wind mixed with the smell of sea salt hit their faces. Yujia's car had smashed through the gap in the wall, and the engine roared. "Get in," he yelled. Xiaolan jumped in first, Yuhang broke behind, and with a sweep of his telekinesis, he threw away the pursuers' guns and smashed them towards themselves. The car sped away, the dock alarm behind them blared, and the searchlight swept the night sky like a sharp sword. In the car, Xiaolan gasped and opened the file photo. The decisive battle base is confirmed. The underground fortress, the entrance is the sunken shipwreck at the end of the pier. Zakai is hoarding enhancers there, waiting for the city to riot. Yuchia turned sharply to avoid the patrol motorcycle. We have a map, and you have yours power. The decisive battle, just before dawn. Yuhang looked at the darkness of the port, and the anger in his heart turned into determination. Zakai, your doom is coming. I will defend this city. The car lights pierced the fog, and there was a storm hidden on the road ahead. The three of them moved forward in tacit understanding, and the shadow of the climax quietly approached. Word count, 1248. The car lights pierced the fog in the port like sharp swords, and the low roar of the engine echoed in the night. Yuhang leaned on the back seat, still replaying the weird light of the green liquid in the laboratory in his mind. Xiaolan's laptop screen flashed a map, marking the entrance to the wreckage. She whispered, enter before dawn and avoid high tide points, otherwise the drains will flood. Yuchia held the steering wheel and smiled at the corner of his mouth. Don't worry, I'll drive steadily. The insider also said that Zakai was personally in charge of the underground fortress tonight, and the enhancer production line was fully operational. We destroyed the place and he was finished. The warm current of determination in the car, mixed with the salty smell of the sea breeze, made the three of them feel like an invincible fleet. Suddenly, a dazzling car light flashed through the rearview mirror, and the engine roared like a wild beast. Yuchia frowned. Tail? Port patrol? Before he finished speaking, a black truck hit him like an arrow from behind. The car body shook violently. Yuhang instinctively leaned forward, his telekinesis exploded, and an invisible barrier protected the rear of the car, making a muffled crashing sound. The truck rolled over, sparks flying, but a dozen black figures emerged from it, armed with electric batons and net guns, and rushed towards their vehicle. Zakai's commando team. Xiaolan screamed, grabbed the laptop and smashed it against the window glass, causing fragments to rain down. She growled, speed up, brother Jia. Yuchia stepped on the accelerator and the car sped out, but a motorcycle approached from the flank. The rider swung the chain and hit the car door. The smell of rust and blood instantly filled the air. A melee broke out. The motorcycle rider jumped on the roof of the car, and the chain whipped down like a whip, smashing the sunroof, and shards of glass pierced Yuchia's shoulder. He groaned in pain, the steering wheel tilted, and the car brushed against the container on the roadside, causing sparks to burst out. Yuhang got up from the back seat, grabbed the rider with his mind like a giant hand, and threw him to the seaside, where he fell into the water with a muffled sound. Brother Jia, hold on, he shouted, but another truck cut across the road ahead, the door opened, and the gangster men filed out. The leader was He Lang, Zakai's deputy, his pale face distorted in the fog. The boss said, capture the ones alive. Especially the intelligence dog. Black Wolf roared, dark energy surged out like ink, entangled in the wheels, causing the tires to collapse instantly, and the smell of burnt rubber hit his nostrils. The car stopped urgently, and Yuchia pushed the door open and pulled out the baton hidden under his seat, the self-defense tool he got from the inner line. You're all these scums, slam, he roared, and the stick swung towards the nearest slough, hitting the knee, causing a brittle crack of bone cracks. But there were too many people. A little brother sneaked from behind, and the stick poked his back. The blue light flashed, Yujia's body twitched and he couldn't get up. Xiaowu screamed, Yujia. She lifted the gun on the ground and shot at the thief like a spider. The net was like a spider and hung him on the carriage door. Yuhang's mind was swinging and swung three slurs, but the dark touch of the Black Wolf was like a living snake, slamming Yujia's neck and dragging him into the car. Reporter, take it away first. The boss wants to squeeze your brain dry. The Black Wolf smiled, closed the carriage door, and fled with the engine. No! Yuhang's heart was like a knife, and his brain flashed Yujia's smile, the brother who always talked about never retreating. In the past, he had acted solely and thought the teen was burdened. Now, this pain is like a shock, making him realize the weight of his dependence. I can't drop him. He growled. Xiao Wei grabbed his arm, his eyes fixed, chasing. They go to the side of the old ship. I blacked into their trackers and positioned the cell. She danced with her fingers, showed the car route on the phone, and the two jumped on another motorcycle that had been hijacked, and the engine roared and chased after him. The sea breeze was blowing, and the rain hit the helmet, like countless stings. Astronaut held the handle tightly, and his heart was filled with unprecedented determination. The team is not a weak point, it is my source of strength. The cell on the side of the old ship was hidden in the wasteland pile, with the iron doors scattered, and the air was filled with dampness and bloody musty smell. The car stopped, and the black help dragged the geek in, and the iron chain collided and cried out. Xiaoyi hid the motorcycle in the shadow and said in a low voice, I cover it up and blackmail the police system from the outside. You go in to save people. The cell is on the second floor underground, and there is an electronic lock in the iron gate. She came over a self-made interferer and her eyes flashed, talk the enemy's affairs. Give me, remember, don't show off. Astronaut pointed at her head and patted her shoulder, thank you, huh? Let's take him home together. This interaction was like a warm current, making his heart turn around from the arrogance of a loneliness of a wolf to the trust of the team. This step was like a change. He walked closer, and his mind was like an invisible touching hand passing through the barrier of the iron gate and entering the underground passage. Images of a cell floating in the sea of brain. Yu Jia was hung on the iron chain, the knife on her chest was deeply damaged and the bones were visible. Blood dripped down her clothes, making a sticky sound. Her face was as white as paper, and her breathing was weak. Boy, don't worry about me, the story. Yu Jia said weakly, his eyes full of worry. Astronaut's heartache was as painful as a thunderbolt, concentrating his mind, locking the electronic lock with his mind. The circuit was buzzing, and the iron door was clicking. But the guard's alarm felt that his feet were approaching. Who? 4 powerful people rushed in, holding the electric wire, buzzing like a demon's whisper. It's a little fun. The spacecraft did not retreat, and the elemental ring burst out, thunder and fire, fuse. With a moment of thought, the thunder element condensed first, and the blue and white electric arc jumped like a silver snake on its fingertips, and the air was filled with the pungent smell of ozone. The fire element followed, and the orange-red flame burst out, intersecting with the thunder to form a thunder fireball. The ball expanded like a sun, and it was swollen with heat. He pushed hard, and the thunder and fire rushed towards the iron. Rise! Explosion was like thunder, iron stalks were twisted and melted, flames reflected in the basement, and debris were like smoke. Shogun screamed and retreated. One was hit by lightning, twitching and falling to the ground, and the current was sizzling. The other was on fire, and the ground was mourning, and the burnt smell spread. The prison collapsed, the spacecraft was inserted, and the mind power unfolded the iron chain and picked up Yu Jia. Brother, hold on. Yu Jia's eyes slightly slapped, and blood foam overflowed from his mouth. Yuhang, you are here, the team is worth it. The touch is like a tide. Yuhang knelt on the ground, and healing gloves covered Yu Jia's chest. The green light was like spring rain, and the warm energy penetrated into the wound. The past treatment was just a minor injury. Now, the heavy wounds are reorganized in the green light, the blood vessels are reconnected, the blood flow stops, and a slight sizzling sound is released. Yu Jia's face turned red, his chest was undulating and stable. He took a deep breath and the water slid down. Boy, it's gone. You're sobbing. Yuhang's throat choked, and his heart was as innocent as waves. I think power is just for fighting, but the feeling of saving my brother is the real strength. It's too cold to go alone, and the team keeps me intact. At this moment, the depth of emotions was as deep as the sea. He turned from a hero who thought he was right to a guardian who relied on his partners. Yu Jia held his hand and said in a low voice, "Thank you, brother." The story is not unscathed. Sakai's fortress weakness is the Zhongli control room, where the core of the enhancer is. After it is destroyed, the entire line will collapse. But the crisis remains unresolved. The black wolf sprang out from the depths of the passage, and the dark energy burst out like a black tide, swallowing the green light, and wrapped its cold tentacles around the 3 people. Boss Sakai's order, total annihilation. He roared, and the darkness opened its mouth like a giant beast, suppressing Yuhang's telekinesis and dimming the green light. Yuhang groaned, feeling his power being sucked away, and his heart tightened. We can't let him hurt our brothers. He grabbed a handful of plant seeds from his space backpack and sprinkled it into the passage. The seeds fell to the ground and took root, the greenery surged wildly, the vines were like giant nets to build a defense line, the leaves were as thick as shields, and the roots were entangled in the black mist, making a tearing rustling sound. The dark tentacles hit the vine net and were corroded by the green juice, making a sizzling sound. The black wolf roared in pain and retreated. Plant? Damn it! The defense line was solid and gave him a breather. Yuhang felt that the healing efficiency had been upgraded, the range of the green light had expanded, and now it could heal multiple injuries at the same time. The joy of growth surged in his heart. The power of the ruins evolves in crisis. Xiaolan's voice came from the earphones, urgent but witty. Aerospace, lure the enemy. I sent a false signal outside, saying that the police were outflanking, to distract him. She operated a drone outside, dropped smoke bombs, alarms blared, and fake sirens echoed. He Lang turned his head, hesitation flashing in his eyes. Police? Impossible. At this moment of distraction, Yuhang counterattacked, shooting out his mind like an arrow, penetrating the darkness and hitting He Lang's chest. He groaned and fell to the ground, and the dark energy collapsed like smoke. Xiaolan rushed in, kicked away the black wolf's weapon, and chuckled, wisdom is better than brute force. Let's go. The three of them helped Yujia up and rushed out of the cell. Behind them, the footsteps of the gang reinforcements roared, but the vine defense line delayed the pursuers, and the green leaves were like walls blocking the gunfire. The bullets embedded in the veins of the leaves, making a muffled sound. They fled onto the motorcycle, engine roaring, and left the dock. Yujia panted in the back seat, his eyes sharp after recovering. The intelligence has been upgraded. Sakai personally declared war. He sent a full-frequency message, urban heroes, decisive battle at the port, see you at dawn. If you lose, this city is mine. The group suffered heavy losses. The weapon warehouse was destroyed and the deputy was seriously injured, but he attracted more slaves with special abilities. At the entrance of the fortress, there is a hidden elevator under the wreckage. We have to break in before sunrise. Yuhang held the handle tightly, feeling heavy in his heart as the sea breeze blew away the smell of blood. The low roar of the black wolf is still in my ears, but the team's tacit understanding is like a beacon, illuminating the way forward. Zekai, you wait. This time, we all attack. The motorcycles rushed into the night, the first light of dawn faintly emerged, and the shadow of the decisive battle quietly opened. The sound of motorcycle engines gradually faded into the fog in the port, and the first gray light of dawn rose from the sea level, covering the outline of the city like a thin veil. Yuhang tightened his grip on the handle. The wind was filled with the smell of salty seafood and the aftertaste of burnt rubber. His heart was filled with guilt towards Yujia and anger towards Sakai. Xiaolan was close behind him, arms around his waist, and the voice rang in the earphones. The hiding place is in the old warehouse in the West District. Brother Jia said, go around the alley to avoid patrols. Yujia responded from another car in front, his voice still breathing from the battle just now. Yes, the entrance is disguised as an abandoned workshop. I confirmed on the inside that Sakai's eyes and ears haven't reached here yet. Hurry, brothers. They turned into a narrow alley in the West District. The street lights were dim, and the potholes and water on the ground reflected neon fragments. The hideout is hidden behind a seemingly dilapidated car repair shop. The iron door is rusty. When it is pushed open, it opens into a spacious basement. The walls are covered with maps and surveillance screens. The air is filled with the smell of coffee and engine oil. As soon as the lights came on, Xiaolan jumped off the motorcycle first and helped Yujia through the door. The scratch on his shoulder was still bleeding, but his eyes were firm. Sit down, she handed over the first aid kit. I'll take care of it. That bastard He Lang almost destroyed you just now. Yujia smiled and patted her hand. Xiaolan, thank you. But this is no longer a small talk. I have analyzed the weaknesses of Sakai's fortress. The three of them gathered around the old wooden table in the middle. Yujia unfolded the map and circled the entrance under the wreckage in red pen. On the third floor of the underground fortress, the central control room is at the bottom, and the enhancer production line is connected there. The weak point is the power system, the aging transformer, hidden on the east side of the second floor. If you can use your mind to interfere with the current, you can paralyze their security network. Zakai is controlled by Shadow and is strong at close range, but there is a delay in long range. During the decisive battle, don't let him distance himself. Yuhang nodded, tapping his fist on the table, and the wood made a dull sound. I understand. Brother Jia, how many times has your intelligence saved us? This time, I won't let you carry it alone. Yujia raised his head, his eyes as gentle as old wine. This is how a team should be. In the past, I always hid behind the scenes and trembled. Now that I am hanging out with you, I feel like I have become a hero. Xiaolan took down several drones and smoke bombs from the logistics rack and piled them on the table, moving as skillfully as a chef preparing food. She turned to look at Yuhang, her short hair swept across her face, and her voice softened. I prepared a logistics package, a disruptor, medical supplies, and your own energy bar, which can replenish the consumption of telekinesis. Yuhang, the thunder and fire fusion you just used to save Brother Jia, is so cool. But don't work too hard. After the decisive battle, we have to celebrate. The city is at peace. I would like to buy you a cup of coffee, the kind without pursuing soldiers. Her eyes flickered with rare tenderness, and Yuhang's heart felt warm. In the past, he always lived alone, and his feelings were as far away as the neon lights in the city. Now, this support is like sunshine shining into the shadows. Lan, thank you. Only with you can I dare to win. He gently held her hand, and the warmth in his palm conveyed a tacit understanding. Xiaolan smiled, her cheeks slightly red. Then come on, hero. I'll cover your back. Suddenly, the surveillance screen flashed red and the alarm sounded low. Yujia glared, Zai Kai's test. There is movement on the Western District's main road. A gang team raided with more than a dozen vehicles and subordinates with special abilities. The purpose is to cut off our retreat and force us to show up. The roar of the engine came from the alley outside, and the sharp sound of tires scraping the ground was like a beast's roar, mixed with the clang of metal collision. Yuhang stood up, his ring slightly hot. They are coming. I'm going to block the main road, you guys stay here. Xiaolan grabbed the drone remote control. I'll provide air support, Brother Jia, you monitor. Yujia nodded, be careful, brother. This is a warm-up, Sakai is watching the show remotely. Yuhang rushed out of the iron gate, and the night wind blew on his face, bringing with it the freshness of the soil after the rain. He ran towards the main road in the West District, splashing on the stagnant water with his footsteps. The gangster convoy was approaching. The lights of the leading SUV were dazzling. More than 20 strong men jumped out of the car, holding iron bars and chainsaws. The buzzing sound filled the alley. 3 of the superpowers, Fire Fist, Wind Blade, and Earth Shield, had fierce eyes. The leader, Fire Fist, shouted, Boss Sakai said, capture that telepathic kid. Smash this area so that he has nowhere to hide. They rushed at them, Fire Fist smashed out fireballs, orange flames cut through the air, and the heat wave was scorching. Wind Blade waved his hand, and the airflow cut the ground like a knife. Earth Shield built a wall, and the soil rose up to block the retreat. Roadside vendors screamed and fled, stalls overturned, fruits and vegetables rolled to the ground, and the pungent smell of burnt and dust filled the air. Yuhang's heart tightened. This was not a simple raid, but a test of the city. Sakai wanted to use panic to break down the resistance. We can't let them hurt people, he whispered in his heart, as stubborn as iron. This city has been too peaceful for too long. I have to keep this peace, not for the sake of pleasure, but for the ordinary people who crowd the subway, and for the sake of my family from being swallowed up by the shadow. He took a deep breath and grabbed a large handful of plant seeds from the space backpack, the source of the ruin's greenery. There were dozens of them, rolling down like pearls in his palm. Spread on a large scale. Yuhang jumped onto the lamppost, his mind power spreading like the invisible wind, spreading seeds to the open spaces and corners on both sides of the main road. The seeds sprouted instantly when they hit the ground, and greenery emerged like an explosion. The vines shot up several meters high, and the leaves were as thick as shields, quickly weaving into a green wall surrounding the city. The visual impact is as gorgeous as a dream. The green wall springs out of the ground, the rustling sound is like the tide, the vines wrap around the street lamps and wires, and the veins of the leaves flash with phosphorescence, instantly blocking the gang's approach. The convoy hit the green wall, the front hood of the SUV was twisted, and the engine was smoking. The strong man swung his stick and smashed it down, and the iron rod was embedded in the leaves but was rebounded. The vines counterattacked and wrapped around their legs and feet, tightening like living snakes, making a crisp sound of tearing the fabric. What the hell? Plant wall? Fire Fist glared, and the fireball hit the green wall. The flames licked the edges of the leaves but were extinguished by the juice, leaving only the curl of green smoke. The wind blade's air knife cuts, green leaves regenerate faster, and the wall expands like a living thing, surrounding the entire important road, isolating the gangsters from the urban area. Passers-by poked their heads out of hiding places and exclaimed, "Oh my God! Green Fortress! The hero built the wall." Yuhang stood on top of the wall, with the wind blowing his hair, feeling that he had transformed from a warrior to a designer. This greenery was not a destruction, but a line of defense, a barrier to protect the city, which gave him an unprecedented sense of accomplishment. Peace requires building walls, he thought, not high walls, but inner walls. The Black Helping Team came, and the Earth Shield raised the mud wall and hit the green wall, and the ground was shaking like an earthquake. The spacecraft was not panicking, and the elemental ring shone brightly. Thunder Shield, protect. With a moment of thought, the wind element condensed first, and the air turned into a whirlpool, circling the direction of Xiaoyu and Yu's hiding place. The thunder element followed, and the blue-white arc was like a network intersecting, turning into a flash shield. The shield spreads like thunder, the wind and thunder are interspersed, the buzzing sound is deafening, and the smell of hot ozone is swaying the nose. The attack of the alien team hit the shield, the flames of the Fire Fist were blown away by the wind, and the lightning arc backfire. He fell to the ground with pain, his skin charred, the air knife of the wind blade was numb by the current, and his body twitched like a touching fish. The mud waves of the Earth Shield were torn apart by the wind and thunder, and the fragments fell like rain. The Hans screamed and retreated, "Monster! This shield cannot be broken." While protecting the shield, the anti-energy retreated to the team. They flew like a wind, smashing into the vine maze in the green wall, swallowing no figure in green, leaving only humming. At this moment, a galvanized cooling force flowed from a distance, like an invisible black hand pressing towards the spacecraft. Zakai. The shadow energy is compressed from a distance, the air is twisted, the green wall leaves slightly withered, and the black fog flows towards the important road like a tide, trying to disintegrate the defense line. Passers-by shouted in panic, "It's coming again!" Dark. Yuhang hummed, feeling his mind's power being pulled, and his heart was angry. "Do you think it's safe to go far?" He concentrated his mind's power was like a return force to counter, and his invisible force passed through the black fog and stabbed the source. The shadow energy collapsed, and hissing and shattering sounds. Zai Kai's low roar came from a distance, "Boy! You have exposed my position." Mind power locked the fortress deep in the port, and the image appeared like a screen. Zai Kai stared in the control room, pressing his palm on the head, and the shadow retreated like a wounded wild beast. This countermeasure is like a heavy blow, making aerospace feel refreshed, not about power, but about the victory of wisdom, and the hot blood that predestined to fight is burning in the chest like fire. The green wall was solid, the black support dispersed, the engine of the car was turned off, the silences were swept into rice dumplings by vines, and the police sirens were moved from far away. Xiaoyu rushed out of her hiding place, and the unmanned plane was spinning on her head. She ran to Yuhang and hugged his arm. "Your green wall is so beautiful. It's like a science fiction movie. I just saved us by the shield, thank you." Her support was like a warm wind. Yuhang turned to look at her and smiled. Smile, well, this is enough with you. Zhe Kai's position has been exposed, and the battle has begun. After dawn, we broke into the fortress. UGF followed, patted the green wall, and Yizashasha replied, the information confirms, the weak power room is weak. We are ready, brother. Astronauts look eastward, the sky is red and the city's lights are reborn under the green wall. He was in his heart like a rock, peace is not a remote dream, but a wall I have put up step by step. Sakai, your shadow will come to this point. The black soldiers were arrested, and passers-by applauded and shouted, the road was restored to its level, but the shadows at the far port were gathering, and the sound of the battle was quietly knocking. The three of them returned to their hiding place, and the green fragrance spread in the air, and the preheated climax came like a tide, waiting to explode. Number of words, 1247. The gray light of dawn did not completely swallow the night, and the fog in the port area roamed the old ship like ghosts. In the basement where the hiding place was slim, the lights were dim, reflecting the tight faces of the three of them. Ugl leaned against the table, holding an updated map in his hand, and his voice was low and filled with tumbling. The outer base is on the east wing of the ship, which is a supplementary line, a drug and a viral drug, all from there to the core fortress. The weak point is the shipping code head on the north side, and the guard is relaxed, but there are two powerful sentries, one controls the network and the other is a poisonous fog girl. When it breaks, I use wireless to interfere with their patrol channels. CIE, you hack the communication tower and let them turn inside. Aerospace, you are the main attacker, and after destroying the warehouse, we go straight to the core entrance. Xiaoyan clicked her head, her short hair swaying under the light. She carried her backpack full of unmanned machines, her eyes flashed, the communication tower is on the high tower, and I will rush it within 5 minutes. Brother Jay, give me your interferers so that they won't call supporters. Yujia passed a small device and patted her on the shoulder, little Jay, don't show off. Yuhang, this time your gold fingers are all open, don't hold back. Yuhang stood up, clenched his fists, and rings, gloves, and seed bags were burning in the palms. In the past, he was as strong as a wild horse, and he always lost control halfway. Now, this hot stream of listening like an old friend made him feel confident. Let's go. Once this supplementary line is closed, Zhe Kai's claws will be destroyed. For the city, for you. The three of them had mixed eyes, and they understood and breathed like breathing. They pushed the iron door and slipped into the smoke. The air in the port is salty and pungent, and the rhythm of the waves crashing against the dock is like the low beat of war drums. The outer base of the east wing is hidden behind a pile of containers. The barbed wire fence is covered with infrared lights. The lights of the warehouse door flicker and the footsteps of the guards are intermittent. Yujia hid in the shadows and whispered through the earphone, the patrol has turned, and there is a gap of 30 seconds at the north pier. Do it. Xiaolan ran up the tower like a civet cat, stepping lightly on the metal ladder, and the wind ruffled her windbreaker. She climbed to the top of the tower, took out the jammer and inserted it into the control box. A spark flashed and the screen buzzed to black. The communication is down. They are blind now, and they are calling Tian Tian Ying internally. She laughed lowly, slid down from the tower, and the drone buzzed into the sky to monitor the surrounding area. Yuhang took a deep breath and spread his mind like invisible wings, easily bending the wire mesh and making a subtle creaking sound. He slipped into the dock and imagined the layout of the warehouse, boxes of ammunition piled high, vials of virus glowing green on the shelves. Suddenly, the alarm wailed, a guard turned around, and the power grid spread out like a blue spider silk. Who? Yujia's voice sounded in time, the weak point of the power grid is the ground wire, smash it. With a thought, Yuhang's mind whipped towards the ground cable like a whip, sparks flew everywhere, the power grid collapsed, the guard's body twitched and fell to the ground, and the air was filled with the pungent smell of ozone. Have fun and explode. At the entrance of the warehouse, a dozen gangsters rushed out, holding submachine guns and iron bars, shouting, intruders. Boss Sakai said, kill without mercy. Bullets rained down. Yuhang did not retreat, and the space backpack opened like an infinite warehouse. He swept through his mind and took out many pre-stored props. Dozens of smoke bombs rolled down to the ground, and instantly exploded into white mist like a sea of clouds, obscuring his vision. Iron pipes and steel balls dumped like ammunition, and he controlled them with his mind to turn into rain of bullets to counterattack, clanking against the gun body, catching the strong men off guard. Xiaolan's drone swooped down and dropped interference bombs. The explosion sounded like firecrackers, the circuit short-circuited, and the lights flickered out. The props are all here, now it's the element's turn. Yuhang roared, the ring glowed brightly, and all summons were unlocked. The fire element explodes first. The orange fire dragon burst out of the palm, roaring like a wild beast, and the heat wave hit the face and burned the air. It swept towards the edge of the warehouse. The ammunition box melted instantly. The chain of explosions roared like fireworks, and metal fragments flew everywhere. The strong man screamed and retreated, fire! Monster fire! The water element followed and was extracted from the seawater at the dock. It turned into a huge wave and poured down like a tsunami, washing away the fire to prevent it from spreading and drowning the enemy. The cold and clammy touch caused the firearm to malfunction. The strong man coughed and struggled like a drowned rat. The wind element rotates and joins. The airflow is like a tornado, rolling up water and fire. The fire, water, and wind interweave into violent waves and fire rain. The wind helps the fire to surge higher, and the water uses the wind to turn into needles, destroying the enemy camp like a symphony. The fire rain pours down, and the scorched skin makes a sizzling sound. The water needles shoot through the iron rods like arrows, and the wind blades cut through the fog. The extreme output makes the battlefield as gorgeous as the end of the world. The strong men broke up, gunshots broke into chaos, and someone shouted, "What is this?" All elements. Boss, help! In the center of the space station, blood boiled, and his heart surged like a tide. I used to be distracted, but now, fusion. Relic runes flashed in his mind, golden fingers closed together like a puzzle, and a new move was born, Symphony of Elements. Guided by the power of thought, the ring is fully opened, and the four elements of fire, water, wind and thunder are condensed at the same time, blending into a bright elemental ball, pulsating like a small sun, with colorful lights flashing to illuminate the dock. Yuhang roared, "Symphony, explode!" The sphere expanded and exploded, fire and thunder roared like heavenly punishment, water and wind roared like hurricanes. The four forces intertwined into a wave of destruction, and hit the supply warehouse with precision. Boom! Warehouse walls disintegrate, virus bottles shatter and green mist evaporates, ammunition explodes in a chain like a volcanic eruption, heat waves mix with thunder, water howls, and wind roars. The extreme output makes readers' blood boil. The strong men were swept away by the waves and smashed into the sea, their screams swallowed up by the waves. Yuhang gasped and stood firm, feeling that the power was like a river flowing into the sea, transforming from a scattered patchwork into a harmonious symphony. This inner breakthrough was like the breaking of shackles. I am no longer a borrowed hero, this power is an extension of me. But Zhe Kai's counterattack came. An elite sniper team emerged from the mist, consisting of 5 superpower masters, Zhe Kai's bodyguards. The leader, Shadow Thorn, grinned ferociously. The boss personally ordered that your team be completely wiped out. Shadow Thorn waved his hand, and the shadow cut through the elements like a blade. The ice thorn next to her summoned ice spikes like rain, and the cold air froze the ground. The thunder claw grabbed an electric arc and collided with the aerospace thunder element, causing sparks to fly. The poison thorn girl spread green mist and corroded the air. The earth demon built a mud wall to block the retreat. The elite attack was like a net. The shadow knife cut through Yuhang's arm, blood seeped out, and the ice spikes approached Xiaolan. She screamed and retreated. "Yuhang, be careful." Yujia's earpiece shouted urgently, "The poisonous mist is spreading, don't inhale it." The situation of the battle turned around for a moment. Yuhang gritted his teeth and grabbed the last bag of plant seeds from the space backpack, the source of greenery, like seeds of hope. He jumped on top of the container and spread the seeds on a large scale. The seeds were scattered on the dock floor, the edge of the sea, and even in the enemy's formation. They took root and sprouted instantly after landing, and the greenery surged like the earth awakening. The vines soared tens of meters high, with thick leaves woven into a maze of terrain. The roots coiled around the mud wall, pulling the earth demon underground, making a muffled sound. Green juice secreted to neutralize the poisonous mist, and the sweet fragrance overcame the putrid smell. The poisonous thorn woman coughed and retreated. Plant. Eat my fog? The vines caught shadow thorns like living nets, and the leaf blades cut the shadows. The coldness of the ice thorns was melted by the greenery, and the water droplets dripped. The lightning arc of the thunder claws rushed into the vines, but was directed to the sea water. The spread of electric current caused the elite to twitch and fall to the ground. The terrain of the battlefield is reversed, the dock becomes a green fortress, the vines are like extensions of the space, controlling every inch of the land, and the scene is as spectacular as the wrath of nature. The elite screamed and collapsed. Impossible. This kid has controlled the field. With a thought from Yuhang, the vine net tightened, binding them into a cocoon, and the reversal of the battle was exhilarating. In the aftermath of the explosion, a passing fisherman was scratched in the leg by flying debris. Blood and water mixed with seawater flowed. He fell to the ground and groaned, "It hurts, someone help me." Yuhang's heart tightened, and his true nature as a hero emerged. He rushed over and covered the wound with the healing gloves. Green light poured out like a spring breeze, warm energy seeped into the muscles, and the wound healed like a flower blooming, and the blood stains faded away. The fisherman's eyes widened, he stood up and stretched his legs. "Boy, you saved me. Is this magic?" Yuhang smiled and helped him up. "It's not magic, it's protection. Let's go, it's dangerous here." The fisherman nodded gratefully, with admiration in his eyes. "We feel relieved that the city has a hero like you." At this moment, the warmth in Yuhang's heart spread like green light, transforming from a fighting machine into a beacon for the city. The power not only destroys enemies, but also heals scars. Supply lines were destroyed, warehouses were reduced to ruins, black smoke curled up, and the sea breeze blew away the smoke. Xiaolan rushed to Yuhang's side and patted him on the back. "Symphony of Elements? The new move is cool. Green field control, reversal is too refreshing." Yujia walked out of the shadows and wiped the sweat on his forehead. "The information is correct, the supplies are cut off. Sakai's fortress is now an isolated city. The core entrance is under the wreckage of the ship. We are approaching." The three of them met, morale surged like a tide, and the interaction in the headphones was full of laughter. "Brother Jia, exit time to upgrade your jammer to a laser?" "Ha, Xiaolan, you hacker is like an agent." Yuhang took the lead, looking into the darkness deep in the dock, with iron determination in his heart. "Zekai, wait and see your ultimate power. This time, we will win." In the fog, the outline of the wreckage gradually emerged, and the core of the decisive battle quietly approached. The team's steps were as firm as war drums, and the port under the night echoed with whispers of victory. The rusty smell of the sunken shipwreck mixed with the rotten smell of seaweed hit their nostrils, and the mist wrapped around the three of them like ghost hands. Yuhang took the lead, his footsteps squeaking on the slippery deck. The core entrance is hidden in a secret elevator shaft under the wreckage. The iron door is covered with rune-like carvings, like Sakai's dark mark. Xiaolan came closer, took out the jammer and inserted it into the control panel. A spark flashed and the door lock buzzed open. "It's done! The communication is completely cut off, and they are now deaf and blind." She whispered, her short hair was blown by the wind, and her eyes were as sharp as knives. Yujia patted her on the back with his usual teasing tone. "Xiaolan, your hacking skills make Zekai so angry that he vomits blood." "Yuhang, this is his lair, don't be careless." Yuhang nodded, his heart beating like a war drum. The elevator rumbled down, and the lights flickered to illuminate the steel corridor of the underground fortress. The air was sultry and mixed with the bitter smell of chemicals, like the breath of hell. The aftermath of the explosion at the pier flashed through his mind, and the looks of those citizens tortured by the virus made him clench his fists. "Sakai, you have ruined too many people. This time, I am not just fighting for myself." The inner whispers are like a tide, and the fear of the past, the tremor of facing the unknown power still remains, but now, it is overwhelmed by the determination to protect, like the dawn swallowing the night. I'm not afraid anymore. This city and you are my backing. The elevator door opened and the three of them rushed out and went straight to the central control room. At the end of the corridor, an alarm blared, and gang reinforcements came like a flood. More than 20 strong men were holding chainsaws and submachine guns, buzzing and shouting, "The boss is in there. Stop them!" The leading deputy, Frost Blade, had a pale face twisted, ice blades sprang out from the palms, the cold air froze the air, and the ground was frosted like a mirror. "Boss," Sakai said, "no one of you will be left alive." He roared, ice spikes rained down, and the sharp sound of breaking through the air pierced the eardrums. Yuchia did not retreat, but grabbed the prepared baton with a firm look in his eyes. "I will contain this ice head. You go to the control room." He rushed forward, smashed the stick at Shuangbian's feet, and shattered ice flew everywhere. At the same time, he shouted into the earphone, "Yuhang, there is an ambush on the left wing, be careful." Xiaolan nodded and threw out the drone swarm, buzzing and circling like a swarm of bees. "I'll block the exit, don't let the reinforcements come in." She flew the remote control with her fingers, and the drone dropped smoke bombs and sticky bombs. Both ends of the passage were instantly sealed, and white fog filled the air. The sticky glue was like spider silk, entangled in the boots of the strong men, causing them to stumble and fall. The curses were like thunder, "Damn! It's stuck!" A strong man broke free and pointed the gun at Xiaolan. She nimbly dodged, and the drone dived and hit the gun body. Sparks exploded and the barrel twisted. "Lan, back!" Yuchia roared, throwing out the jammer from the side. The electromagnetic waves interfered with the Frost Blade's ice blade, causing the cold air to disperse like fog. Xiaolan turned around and smiled, "Thanks, Brother Jia. The team has a tacit understanding, Zhe Kai's henchmen can go cry." Yuhang took advantage of the chaos and rushed forward, sweeping away the three strong men with his mind power like an invisible giant hand. They hit the wall and made a dull sound like drum beating. Plant seeds spilled from the backpack and took root on the ground. The vines sprang up to form a line of defense. The green leaves rustled to block the bullets. The veins of the leaves were embedded in the warheads, swallowing up the offensive. "Reinforcements are entangled," he growled, rushing through the control room door. The lights were brightly lit inside, the enhancer production line was humming, and green liquid flowed like poisonous blood in the pipeline. On the high platform in the center, Zhe Kai stood, his tall and thin figure like a king of shadows, his hands wrapped around the black mist, his eyes as red as blood. "Boy, you're here. Destroy my supplies and cut off my claws? But this fortress is my throne." He smiled ferociously, his voice hoarse as frost, "The shadow swallows the sky." The dark energy exploded, pouring out like a torrent of ink, swallowing up the room lights, and its cold tentacles rushed towards Yuhang like 10,000 pythons. Sparks flew from the console, green liquid spilled onto the ground, and the corrosive air made a sizzling sound. Yuhang's heart tightened, and fear flashed back like an old shadow. The feeling of being swallowed up by powerlessness made his steps slow. "Can't retreat!" I roared in my heart, replaying the team's interaction in my mind, Xiaolan's wit, Yuchia's perseverance, and the citizens' gratitude. This is not a lonely battle, but the protection of everyone. He took a deep breath and merged his telekinesis with the elemental ring. The golden finger limit was unlocked. The invisible force is like a bridge connecting rings, and the four elements of fire, water, wind and thunder boil in the body, converging into a giant elemental storm. "Fusion, storm." Yuhang growled, waved his arm, and the ring's light exploded like the sun. The air shook violently, and the wind element swirled first, turning into the core of the hurricane, roaring like a dragon. The fire element rushed in, and the orange-red flames entangled into a fire dragon. The water element extracted the green liquid from the pipeline, neutralizing the toxicity and turned into a blue vortex. The thunder element exploded, and blue and white arcs intertwined like a net. The four forces merged, and a giant elemental storm took shape, a colorful tornado descending like a mythical beast, 10 meters in diameter, towering into the sky, with a symphony of heat waves, chills, thunder, and wind roars. The air was filled with a mixed smell of burning, moisture, and ozone, and it was as gorgeous as doomsday fireworks. The storm hit Sakai's black fog barrier, and the darkness rushed up like a huge wave. The two forces collided, and a loud bang shook the fortress, and the walls were cracked like spider webs. The black mist barrier twisted, and Zakai stared back. Impossible. How do your elements fuse? The dark tentacles tried to swallow the storm, but the fire and thunder burned the shadows, the water and wind tore the ink. The storm advanced like an invincible blade, and the colorful light reflected Hong Zakai's pale face. Yuhang felt power rushing like a river, and the fear in his heart turned into fearlessness. I am not fighting for fear, but for protection. This city and my partners are my light. With a push of his mind, the storm exploded to its limit. Thunder and fire roared directly into the core of the barrier, the black mist disintegrated like smoke, and the fragments fell like black rain. Zakai groaned, his shadow power was defeated, his knees softened and he knelt down, blood bleeding from his mouth. This kid. The reversal was as refreshing as electricity rushing through the body, and Yuhang did not let up. Reinforcements approached from the passage. Frost Blade broke through Xiaolan's blockade, and Ice Blade rushed towards him. Boss, I'm here to save you. Yujia shouted, Yuhang, hold on. He threw out the final disruptor, paralyzing the Frost Blade with electromagnetic waves. Greenery surged wildly, and vines sprang out like giant pythons, wrapping around the legs and feet of the reinforcements and pulling them into the maze. The leaf blades cut ice thorns, and the threat was resolved with a rustling sound. Thanks, team, he shouted, turning to face Sakai. Sakai fought back desperately, madness flashing in his eyes. You have ruined everything for me. Shadow explosion. He flashed, and the black mist condensed into a giant blade, slashing like a death scythe, cutting the air with a hissing sound, and went straight to Yuhang's heart. The dark energy suppressed the power of thought, making the aftermath of the storm dim and cold as if thousands of needles were biting the bones. Yuhang ducked, his arm was scratched, blood dripped, and the pain was like fire. Damn, so cruel. But he didn't panic, and took out the ultimate item from the space backpack, the reflector shield in the ruins, a silver round shield that flowed like mercury. With a thought, the shield unfolded, and the runes on its surface flashed, reflecting Zakai's black blade. Reverse. Yuhang roared, the shield reflected dark energy like a lens, and the black blade turned backwards, killing Zakai himself. Zakai widened his eyes. What? My shadow. The giant blade penetrated his chest, and the black fog retaliated against his inner body, making a torn cry. His body twitched, he knelt on the ground, and the blood foam sprayed out, and the shadow could collapse like a smoke dissipated. I can't, I'm the king. Zakai murmured, his eyes dimmed, and he fell heavily. The light of the castle light was completely destroyed, the production line stopped, and the green liquid evaporated harmlessly. At the end of the battle, Yuhang knelt on the ground with breathing and blood flowing. Xia and Yujia were inserted, and Xia Jia held him. Yuhang. You won. Zakai fell. Yujia checked Zakai's fight and pointed, I'm not angry anymore. The group is over. Yuxing smiled, and the green gloves were flashing. First, he took his arm to get hurt, which was as warm as spring wind to stop bleeding. The wound was covered by Yujia. Cross, we hold it. Xiaoli held his hand tightly, with a slight light in his eyes. Yes, from the thief on the street, to this, you changed, we all changed. Outside the fortress, the sirens sounded approaching, the city's lights lit up, and the shadows disappeared. But aerospace looks at the exit and knows that the end is still there. Cleaning up the party, and relieving the city's scars is the real peace. Terms, 1249. The air in the underground fort was still buzzing, and the remaining green liquid fell to the ground, sizzling sounds, and the whispers of a poisonous snake gradually disappeared. Zakai fell under the high platform, his chest was undulating and scattered, and the black fog spread out like a scattered smoke from his fingers, his white face twisted into a group, and blood foam slipped down the corners of his mouth. He gasped and raised his head, staring at the aerospace with red eyes, and his voice was as sandy as broken glass. "Boy, do you think I'm over? Group? There are still parties." Before he finished speaking, Xiaoyu had already stepped forward, stepped on his wrist, and the buzzing wheel of the unmanned plane swirled in the sky, and the red lights were recorded. "Close your mouth, Zhe Kai. You're done." She sneered and turned to look at Yuhang. "He is still alive, seriously injured. The police are here, we are all here." Yuhang stood firmly while panting, and the wound on his arms was still bleeding. The hot and painful pain was like fire, but he didn't have time to rest. The wall of the fortress began to move, and deep slumbers spread deep into the structure. The structure was unstable, the elemental storm had just torn apart the pillars, and the creaking sound of the steel beam was like a giant gasping for breath. Outside, the rhythm of the waves slamming against the wrecked ship was even more urgent, and the sirens sounded from far away to near, slitting the rotor of the helicopter. "The base is about to collapse." Yu Jie growled, rushing from the outside of the passage, and the new rubbing on his shoulders was still bleeding. The aid troops did not come. The party blocked the road outside, but the police encircled it. "We have to withdraw quickly, and this ghost place will be destroyed." At the aerospace point, a sense of uncertainty arose. This is not an end, but a scrubbing. He concentrated his mind spread like an invisible huge wave, extending to the depth of the fortress, and grasping the steel-reinforced concrete support column. The inner whispers are like a tide, from the thief on the street to this underground kingdom. "I can't keep my tail. This city needs a thorough peace." The power of thought explodes. The invisible force hits down like 1,000 pounds, and the cracked pillars crunch the entire castle, and the gray dust comes to the surface, tangled with metal twisted sharp sounds. The walls are cracked like spider nets, the ceiling fragments fall like rain, the pipes of the production line collapse, and the green liquid is accurately guided by the spacecraft's mind and imported into the sewer to avoid ejaculation. Zhe Kai widened his eyes and tried to get up, but the black fog had dissipated, so he could only growl, "No! My empire!" Xia Yan kicked him with one foot and rolled onto the ropes. "Imperial? Go dream." The fortress shaking and continued the drama. The lights were all gone, leaving only the urgent red light flashing like blood. Yu Jie held Xiao Lai and said, "Let's go. The elevator is damaged, come from the emergency passage." The three of them dragged Zhe Kai and rushed towards the exit. The structure behind them collapsed like thunder. As the soil flew, the last glance at the control room, the green liquid sank, dissipated like a poisonous dream. But the remaining waves have not been done. On the outside, Zhe Kai's remaining troops were still in the corner of the corner. More than a dozen scoundrels and 2 powerful soldiers blocked the retreat, holding guns and energy balls, shouting, "Where's the boss? Kill them!" They spread the last reinforcement, green fog, and several innocent citizens who were struck by the raid, port workers and passers-by, had their eyes red after being sucked in, and they lost control and rushed into the ground. The fist hit the ground and sent a slap. The fog spread, and the air was filled with rotten smell. A young worker fell to the ground and twitched, his skin was blistering, and he moaned in pain, "Save! Help! It's so hot!" The police did not completely encircle it. In the midst of the chaos, the cries of citizens pierced into the hearts of Yuhang. He stopped and looked at Xiaoyu and Yu. "I can't leave. Those people, they are innocent." Xiaoyu pointed his head, his eyes fixed. "Go, we drag Kai to the police. My hacker website has blocked their communications, and the party is turning around." Yu patted his shoulder. "Brother, all golden fingers. We're going to answer the back." Yuhang took a deep breath, and the sea breeze smeared with bloody smell. He felt that the power inside his body was like a volcanic movement, a gift of scatteredness, from the power of thought to the elements, from space to healing, from plants to reflection, all gathered together. At this moment, it was not just a little refreshing, but a very exciting moment. He climbed up the code and saw the whole picture of the city in the sea of brains, from saving girls in the alleys, stopping the storm in the bank, from destroying weapons in the warehouse, stopping violence in the building. Every step is a foothold for growth. I have become this guardian from that ordinary person who is stalking the ground. I won't cry for my family, and the city is not a mess. My heart was as white as a warm current. He stretched out his hand and all his golden fingers activated at the same time. First, the space backpack is wide open, like an infinite door swallowing the green bottles around it. With a swipe of thought, they will crush them into harmless powder to avoid spreading. The power of thought spreads like a giant net, wrapping the bodies of out-of-control citizens, gently and calming their penis, making the red eyes clearer and clearer. The elemental ring is full of light, and the whole series is called The Fire Element neutralizes the poisonous fog. The orange flame is like a spirit dancing, and the green is not harmful to people. The water element is extracted from the sea and turns into a rainfall, cleaning the remaining medicine, and the moisture touches like a purified tincture. The wind element rotates and blows away the smoke, and takes away the rotten smell in the middle of the scent. The thunder element lightly tapped the ground, and the arc of the electric arc pierced into the party's gun. A short circuit exploded, and the sparks made the Hans scream and retreat. Monster. The whole system, the boss is settled. The reflective shield spread out, holding the energy ball of the extraordinary soldiers, and bounced back to their feet. In the blink of an eye, they fell to the ground. The climax is coming. Aerospace took out the last plant seed bag from its backpack and poured it out, bringing a lot of green source to the entire code. The seeds fell to the ground and took root, green as the earth woke up. Vines rose for 10 meters, and leaves spread out like giant tiles, quickly covering the collapsed fortress ruins and the ground on the ground. Green light is used to treat gloves, and the energy of the gloves is transmitted through the power of thought, and is imported into the plant network. Green treatment. The vines extend like a living junction, touching every injured person. The skin bubbles of the young worker faded, the muscles reorganized, and the warmth was blowing over the spring wind. He sat up in silence and shouted in surprise, "Are you okay?" "Thank you." The wounds of the Han people were in harmony, and the broken legs were as flexible as new. An old man held the vine and his eyes were swaying. "Boy, this green color saved our whole family." The out-of-control citizens were wrapped in green juice, the toxins were excreted from their bodies, and the red receded. They stood up gasping for breath, their eyes turned from fear to gratitude. "Hero, you stopped the madness." The refreshing and extremely satisfying is like a tide flooding the whole body without a space. It is not a show of one force, but a smooth communication of all golden fingers. Mindfulness control, elemental purification, space movement, reflex prevention, plant treatment, glove injury. Perfect interaction is like a song of communication, saving the entire area. The party saw the situation scattered, the gun landed, and knelt down and begged, "We are wrong. Don't kill." The police rushed in and took action. The Zakai group collapsed like a sand castle collapsed. The leader was carried onto a rack, and was severely escorted, without any missing network. The code head is restored to a level and tranquility, green like a new barrier, guarding every inch of land in the port. Passers-by came up and cried like waves, "Urban hero. He has purified the darkness." Yuhang smiled, lowered his hood, and felt a lot of joy in his heart. This is the meaning of power. It is not a destruction, but a rebirth. As the night faded, the morning light entered the city. The three teams gathered in the coffee stake at the port, the hot beans and oily aromas sniffed, and the refreshing sea wind. Zakai has been arrested, the group has been full of evil. News live broadcast starts, the mysterious hero destroys the black and helps the empire, and the city regains peace. Yujia held a cup, his eyes flashed, "Brother, from the last moment of the love story, we won. In the future, I will continue to stare at the underground and calm, and you can live your life with peace of mind." Xiaoli relying on Yuhang's side, her short hair swept over his shoulders, and she said lightly, "Yuhang, thank you. From meeting on the street to fighting shoulder to shoulder. I like you like this. It's peaceful. Will we go to drink that cup of coffee?" There are no pursuers. Her face was slightly red, and her palms were holding his, warm and permeated like the roundness of emotions. Asawan felt warm, he held it back and smiled. Okay, oh. From now on, let's guard it together. The three of them laughed and said, and the team was as close as their family. In their memories, the review process was like a painting. From the unexpected awakening of ordinary office workers to the mutual friends fighting against traits, every crisis was a change. The heart was from fear to fearless, the skills were from clumsy to extreme, and the relationships were from strangers to deep. The movement to protect the family has come true, the city no longer hides darkness, and the satisfaction of the readers' hearts is as warm as morning light. As the days flowed like a river, Yuhang hid his identity, resigned from his old job, and became the shadow guardian of the city. At night, he patrols the streets, swipes away thieves with his mind, repairs the park with greenery, and resolves minor crises with elements. He always leaves quietly, leaving only legends. His family didn't know his secret, but the laughter on the phone was even louder. Xiaolan became his partner, planning the future together. Yujia's information was like an invisible backing that would never be absent. The city lights are bright, and the legend lives on forever. The office worker who walked out of the ruins has become an eternal hero, guarding peace like the stars. Word count, 1248.